What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
12 GV. Chapter 321 The Final Battle. The performance of Dory and Brocky can be described as overwhelming. The strongest fighters selected from various fighter villages are completely vulnerable in front of them. No one can penetrate the flame armor covering their bodies. No one can withstand their hard blow with hockey and flames wrapped around them. Spike. No matter who the enemy is, they will end the battle in an instant. So the giants in the whole giant kingdom cheered for them. Especially the giants of those villages whose selected fighters were killed by them, they understand the strength of these two people even more. Amazing. As expected of Dory, the old Yamato Broki boss. As expected of the two captains of the giant soldiers pirates. The entire giant kingdom is boiling. Cheer for the strong, cheer for the great power. This is the character of the giants. However, of course, even though the two giants have shown such a crushing strength, the contestants did not flinch in the slightest because of this. On the contrary. Seeing another axe on the field to chop his opponent out of the field, the unconscious Brocky with 16 chops, a giant off the field couldn't help but clench the mace in his hand. As expected of Boss Brocky. Such a powerful force, I really can't wait to fight him. Or it should be said that the eyes of all the remaining players are shining, and they can't wait to be the next one to fight against Dory and Brocky. But at the same time, some doubts finally arose among the soldiers. Why did Dory's old Yamato Broki get so powerful? What kind of flames are they using? What have they been holding in their mouths? This is God-given power, what the hell does it mean? It would be strange not to be puzzled by this. It has completely exceeded the limit of strength that ordinary giant warriors would have. And the power to manipulate fire. Could it be devil fruit? Are the two bosses demon fruit power? This is what Tritter wanted to see. When the militant fighters began to explore the reason why the two of Dory became powerful, they were easily attracted by this strength. Although the two of Dory were preaching by force before, it was just a one-on-one duel. They only show their strength in a small area, and the only ones who are really attracted by them are the giant warriors who were defeated by them. The reason why Tritter held this giant clan martial arts tournament was to show the strength of Dory and Broki to the entire giant clan. Facts have proved that this initiative is quite successful. After all, isn't the entire giant race cheering for Dory and the others right now? The game is still going on. The power of Dory and Brocky continues to show. Prince Loki, who came to watch the battle, couldn't help but marvel, it's too powerful, it's really too powerful. The strength of the two bosses is actually so strong. He turned his head and looked at his father sitting silently next to him, His Majesty the Giant King who ruled this giant kingdom. The father's expression was quite solemn. Then Prince Rocky saw his father sigh softly. Father. His Royal Highness the young prince didn't understand why his father sighed when everyone was cheering. It's really unstoppable now. His Majesty the Giant King sighed with great regret. With the strength shown by the two of Dory, it is a matter of course that the giant warriors will be attracted. In this case, the entire giant family is equivalent to opening their arms to the Illuminati, right? But, after sighing, the giant king's expression also became a little subtle. Will becoming the knight of the sun god become so powerful? Even he couldn't help being a little tempted. 2 days later, the duel between the two divisions has come to an end, and it is now the semifinals. The two winners in this last battle will enter the finals to determine the strongest warrior in the entire giant kingdom. But from the beginning, no one thought it would be two dragons fighting. On the contrary, the entire giant kingdom recognized that the two battles would be equally one-sided. And that's exactly what happened. Then, Dory, I'll be waiting for you in the final. Brigi laughed loudly, his body was wrapped in raging flames, and his whole body was like a cannonball, directly hitting the enemy. It was as if his opponent had been hit head-on by an oversized sea kings, and he flew straight up. Broki. Accompanied by cheers from all over the country, Brocky defeated his opponent and successfully advanced to the final show. Not long after that, Dory. Amidst the same cheers, Dory finally meets Broki in the final. This time, the entire giant kingdom started a heated discussion. From why they are so powerful, it gradually evolved into how powerful are they. Everyone began to look forward to how terrifying the strength of the two people who went all out in the final duel would explode. After all, everyone knows that in the previous rounds of battles, the two of them didn't exert their full strength at all, and their casual attacks have already made them surpass all the players. Then when the two of them meet, of course they will go all out. 470. The final was on the second day, but everyone couldn't wait, wishing that the two of them would fight right away. At night, Tritter found two giant warriors. Tomorrow is the last, don't have any scruples, go all out to show the power you have, Mr. Dory, Mr. Broki. No problem. The two giants laughed loudly. They looked at each other, and there seemed to be lightning splashing in their eyes. I can't wait. There seemed to be fire in Dory's eyes. That's right. Haven't fought since Little Garden, have you? Dory. Brocky laughed loudly, just take this opportunity to see the outcome of the undecided back then. I can't ask for more. Tritter was a little helpless, and these two guys were probably going to have a big fight next time. But this is better, so that it can be more intuitive to show all the warriors in the entire giant kingdom how strong the knights of the gods are. Then the next day, the final battle began. The huge square outside the royal palace was completely surrounded today. In addition to the giants living in the royal capital, even more viewers are from the surrounding warrior villages. They are not satisfied with watching the live broadcast. I want to witness the birth of the strongest battlefield of the Kirin race. This is the real final battle. Chapter 322 God-Given Power. Crazy Giants. Dory was carrying a huge two-handed sword in his hand. Brokey standing opposite him has a huge axe in his right hand and a round shield in his left hand, looking like he has both offensive and defensive capabilities. The cheers have rushed to the sky, and even the clouds above the sky seem to be dispelled. Brilliant sunlight fell from the sky on the two giants, making their huge bodies look like sculptures. Tritter stood with the Giant King with his arms folded. Technically speaking, he was standing on the armrest of the Giant King's throne. After all, with his body size, in this city full of giants, he really seemed too small. Especially at a time as lively as now. If Tritter could just find a place to stand by himself, it would be easy for the excited giants to step on him directly. On the field, the two giants stood facing each other, and both of them had the brightest smiles on their faces. Get ready to be beaten hard by me. Brocky. The blade in Dory's hand was first entwined with pitch-black hockey, and then brilliant golden flames began to flow. He wields a flaming greatsword. Brokey's movements were similar, and the giant axe in his hand was also wrapped in flames. You are the one to be defeated. My brother. The two are the closest friends, but at the same time they are also the most evenly matched rivals. It took more than 80 years in Little Garden and there was no winner. Today is just the time to take advantage of this opportunity to compete. The two laughed out loud at the same time in a very tacit understanding, and in the next second they had crushed the ground and slammed into each other heavily. The collision of the giant sword and the giant axe caused brilliant flames to soar into the sky. The scorching temperature even made the giants on the edge of the huge square feel scorching hot, and couldn't help but step back. The explosion sounded like a thunderclap instantly resounded through the sky. Oh. What is more ear-piercing than the sound of swords and axes colliding is of course the repeated landslides and tsunami-like cheers around. The most anticipated battle finally kicked off at this time. Dory and Brocky are a little too familiar. The two of them were the two captains of the giant soldiers pirates 100 years ago, and they fought side by side for quite a long time. Even if that wasn't counted, their decades-long battle on Little Garden was enough for them to figure out all the others' twists. So their battles seemed quite simple and unpretentious. There is no serious change of move at all, it is purely relying on strength to face each other. At most, Brokey would hold up his shield to resist the power attack a little bit, and the two of them clanked into a ball like this. But this does not mean that the battle is not fierce. Every time the giant sword and giant axe collide, the hot flames spread everywhere, and even the ground under the feet of the two giants is constantly shattering. The surrounding giants kept exclaiming, "What a terrifying force!" The two seem to be the incarnation of the god of fire, and every time the magnet makes the entire surrounding environment overturned. However, the strengths of the two are indeed very close. After more than an hour of ding ding dang dang, there is still no winner, and even the situation is still 50-50. The giants watching the battle on the spot and the giants watching the battle remotely through the phone couldn't help holding their breath at this time. Even the sound of cheering gradually became smaller. There is no doubt that what they are watching at this time is a battle of the highest level in their lives. They were even afraid that their cheering would disturb the fierce battle between the two fighters. Amazing. In every giant village, there are people who can't help but sigh. There are also children in every village declaring loudly, "I will become as strong as them in the future." Not only the children, but also the giant warriors clench their fists silently. Can we become as strong as them? Which fighter would not want to become so powerful? The battle continues. 2 hours have passed. At this time, the two giants were a little tired because of the high intensity and high frequency full strength confrontation, and their movements of waving their weapons were slightly slower. But even so, all the spectators are still engrossed. No one will find this close battle boring. Rather, it is the battle with such a negligible gap between the two sides that makes people's heartstrings more tense, and they dare not relax for a moment. Ha. Looks like you haven't regressed at all. Dory. After another collision, the two sides backed away, and Brokey laughed loudly. Aren't you the same guy? Dory also laughed out loud. He is happy because his opponent is strong. Although he wants to win, he doesn't want his old enemy to become weak. Only by defeating the strongest Brocky will Yila be happier. So, Dory held the hilt of the great sword with both hands, and it was already raised diagonally backward. Then come on. Brokey also laughed and threw away the round shield in his hand, holding the battle axe with both hands. Hockey twines on the duo's weapons, followed by a burst of flame. Are you coming? The Giant King nodded slightly. Both of them are finally about to use their tricks. The gun of Elbaf. The two giants roared in unison. All the giants around began to wave their arms vigorously and shouted loudly. Hakoku. The two giants blasted out the spears of the giant clan. The magnificent shock waves entangled the flames, turning them into torrents of flames. The two torrents of flames collided, and the fiery flames caused a huge explosion in an instant. The entire square was blown to pieces in an instant, and the giants watching the battle were blown upside down by the shock wave, and screams were heard all of a sudden. Even the face of the Giant King has changed. The strength of these two guys is too strong, and the battle has already spread to the surrounding audience. Enough. The Giant King hurriedly stopped it. If you continue to fight, maybe all the onlookers will die because of it. After the explosion gradually dissipated, the two people on the field finally stopped their movements, and they also realized that they seemed to have gone too far. Everyone has witnessed the strength of the two fighters. The Giant King declared loudly to the country, the strength of the two is evenly matched. If we continue to fight, I'm afraid there will be no results. So I declare, both of them are the strongest, Dory and Brokey, both of them are the bloodiest fighters of our giant race. Oh 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 oh. In no time cheers were ringing out from every corner of the country. Good Lees. No one thought there was anything wrong with Wang's decision. The strength of these two people is beyond doubt. The strongest. Boss Dory. Boss Brokey. The cheers have gathered into the wind. Then at this time, several giants among the crowd suddenly cleared their throats. Two bosses. They suddenly roared in unison, why can you become so strong? Dory and Brokey looked at each other. They grinned. This is the power given to us by the great sun god. My compatriots, believe in the great god of the sun. The great god will give his loyal warriors the strongest power. There was a moment of silence across the country. Then, suddenly, really, can you gain power by believing in the sun god? The giant country is boiling, and the giants are crazy. A little uncomfortable, blow two more. Chapter 323, The Kingdom of Giants comes to an end. The entire giant kingdom was completely sensational after this. As soon as Dory and Brokey finished speaking, the giant warriors who were watching their battle rushed towards them impatiently. Boss Dory, Boss Brokey, are you telling the truth? Is it true that you only need to be loyal to the god of the sun to obtain the divine power bestowed by him? I am willing to be loyal to that god, as long as he can make me stronger. Me too, hurry up and make me stronger. The warrior's pursuit of strength has been fully stimulated at this time. Dory and Brokey looked at each other, with bright smiles on their faces at this moment. As expected of Priest Tritter. What a brilliant idea. Shouldn't the entire giant kingdom be mobilized now? Certainly. Dory has already declared loudly to everyone, as long as you believe in God wholeheartedly and dedicate everything to him, then God will never give his gifts to the warriors with affection. That's right. Brokey also answered loudly at the same time, the great God will never let down any believers. Off the court, the corners of Tritter's mouth gradually curled up. He understood that his task was almost done. Fighting is always the main theme of the giant kingdom, and powerful warriors are always the protagonists of this country. When the strongest fighters in this country have bowed their knees to God, there is no doubt that this country will be led to embrace the light of God with open arms. From now on, all that is needed is for God to bestow some divine grace. This matter has already been applied to the God through the God tier officer when the strategy of attacking the giant kingdom was decided before. Because at this time, it is necessary to let some of the giant warriors master the power of flames, so that they can set a good example for other masters. Of course Tritter dared not make the decision to lower God's favor for God. Fortunately, the great God didn't care about this, and agreed to Tritter's request casually. It is precisely because of the support of the great God that Qishi is full of confidence. And now, is the time for divine favor. Your Excellency God tier, now is the time. Tritter silently connected with the God tier officer. The power bestowed by God is really too powerful, and it is easy to initiate contact with God tier officer Your Excellency. Island of Gods. Mahad respectfully begged to see Du Lin, God, the time is almost up. Because the giant kingdom is not in the same hemisphere, BGAD, at all, so the giant kingdom is still in the morning. When the sun is just right, it is already dark on Du Lin's side, and the great God has already had dinner and is watching a movie to enjoy the night leisurely life. Yeah, Du Lin stretched his waist lightly, Holt is quite capable as a kid. Mahad smiled and said, Tret has always been the most capable among the priests, and I think he is my most suitable successor. Du Lin gave him a funny look, what nonsense, Mahad, can he live as long as you? Du Lin has never forgotten that the guy in front of him, his deputy, Mahad is not a human being, he is an elf. Compared with human beings, the lifespan of card elves can be described as very different. Tritter's descendants may have multiplied to dozens of generations, but Mahad is still in full bloom. Mahad just responded indifferently, God, your goal will never be just in this sea, there must be a wider world ahead of us. When we leave here, someone must stay to host the Illuminati. Makes sense. Du Lin nodded with a smile. Of course, it is going to expand to other worlds. The pirate world is just a starting point, and what Mahad considers is very important. However, the lifespan of the subordinates is indeed a problem. I am already immortal, but the lifespan of my subordinates can't keep up. We have to find a way to prolong their lives. Otherwise, how can you keep up with your own footsteps? Go find pure gold. That thing should be fine. Then go and see, Giant Kingdom. Du Lin stood up. Kingdom of Giants, the most powerful country in the world. It's also good to have a look. Du Lin stood up straight. In the next second, he had already appeared in the sky above the royal palace square in the king city of the Giant King. God. Trit had cast his body to the ground at the first time, respectfully welcoming the arrival of God. Dory and Brokey also knelt down in full of excitement and respect. God. The two giants were so excited that they burst into tears. They finally completed the task that God entrusted to them. The giants also raised their heads curiously. Is that the god of the sun? It's so beautiful. They all sighed. In the sky, Du Lin looked down at the group of giants below. Even with his current vision, after seeing the tens of thousands of giants gathered together, he would feel a little shocked. But he didn't intend to speak at all, but the light began to spread around him. The sunlight became more intense at this time, and the entire giant kingdom seemed to brighten up. Then, a miracle happened. My injury is recovering quickly. On the square, the giant warriors were stunned. The news left in the previous battle was that they are now recovering at the fastest speed, and they are even about to recover soon. Not just them, the rest of the country, all the giants covered by the light, they are feeling healed. Wounds are being healed and diseases are being healed. What is the situation? The giants in the square looked up at the sun god in a daze. The giants in other parts of the giant kingdom couldn't help but look at the figure surrounded by light on the broadcast screen in astonishment. This is, God. I like strong fighters. Du Lin finally spoke, and he calmly looked down at the soldiers below. Observation Hockey has easily identified their strengths and weaknesses. This is a reward for a strong and loyal warrior. Swaying casually, several fire seeds have been sprinkled into the clouds by Du Lin, and merged into the foreheads of several giant warriors below in the shortest possible time. Next, feel free to please me with your strong Yamato loyalty. Du Lin and his light have disappeared. Then, the gifted giant warriors lowered their heads in astonishment. In their hands, flames are rising. All the giants' eyes lit up. God, accept our loyalty and witness our bravery. They were almost cheering. Thus, the kingdom of giants was bathed in the light of the sun. Chapter 324 Reward. In this way, the missionary work of the kingdom of giants has basically come to an end. The giants who had been blessed by the gods couldn't wait to show the power they had just acquired. The surging and brilliant flames made all the other participating giants envious. That's exactly the power Dory and Brocky have. This power directly more than doubled the strength of those gifted giants. The amazingly powerful flame that can be manipulated at will is simply the most powerful weapon. The giants who were able to fight them fairly, but now they can only be easily defeated when facing them. That's why the giants are more eager for that kind of power, the kind of power bestowed by the gods. The entire giant kingdom went crazy, all the warriors gathered in front of Dory and Brocky, asking them how to show their loyalty to God. The two giant priests then laughed. Now, the Illuminati of the kingdom of giants can finally expand on a large scale. His Majesty the Giant King also announced at this time that the Illuminati will become the state religion of the entire country, and all citizens are obliged to believe in it. No way. Although His Majesty the Giant King really wanted the entire country not to participate in the dispute between the Illuminati and the world government. But there is no way, this is not something he can refuse at all. When the god of the sun really appeared above the palace and sprinkled his light, and the owner felt for the first time what despair is. That is simply not a force that humans can resist. The whole country is covered by his light, and everyone is bathed in the radiance of healing. This time it's the healing radiance, so can we replace it with the destructive radiance? The Giant King didn't even dare to think about it. But he couldn't help but have such thoughts in his mind. If the great sun god is willing, even if he wants to destroy the entire self-governing country, I'm afraid it's just a snap of his fingers, right? So now, the entire giant kingdom can only believe in that great god. The kingdom of giants is just one of the more special microcosms, and the expansion of the Illuminati continues throughout the world. One island after another was occupied by the Sun Knights, and a country welcomed the priests of the Illuminati. Facing their menacing approach, no one dared to resist at all. Whether it is a member country or a non-member country, no country dares to resist their expansion. This is of course, the franchise countries even hope that the Illuminati will come over sooner. As for the franchise countries, after realizing the attitude of the world government, they did not dare to act rashly. After all, even the Marine branch, which was established near their country and originally shouldered the responsibility of protecting them, had quietly withdrawn immediately after the expansion of the Illuminati. The world government has chosen to swallow their anger, so what can these weak alliance countries do? A large number of countries and islands were occupied, and when the time came to the second year, see Circle Calendar 1504, half of the entire world had been controlled by the Illuminati. Yes, half of it in the true sense. With the upside-down mountain as the center, it spreads towards the four directions. Whether it is the 4 sea areas in the southeast, northwest, or the front and back sections of the Grand Line, the 6 largest sea areas in the world have already been covered half of the area by the Illuminati. At this time, the territory actually controlled by the world government is only a little more than half of the peak period, which is a little more than a quarter of all the countries in the world. The order of the world has been completely reversed. People have begun to call the Illuminati the new world government. After all, the actual area they control has caught up with the peak moment of the world government that year. The living area of the pirates has been further compressed, and within the area controlled by the Illuminati, all pirates will be hit mercilessly. It was only at this time that people realized that the era of pirates seemed to have really come to an end. The Illuminati has finally stabilized gradually, and the next step is to digest the area it just occupied. And, the Island of Gods. Have you not found their whereabouts yet? Du Lin felt very annoyed. Really, since the defeat is already decided, why can't you stand up with a little dignity and come to the final peak duel? Still haven't found the whereabouts of IM and others, they have completely disappeared in this world. Ask for flowers. Even with Du Lin's intelligence capabilities at this time, they still haven't found their whereabouts. I can't help it. Du Lin thought of an idea. Since our intelligence system is not enough, let the whole world help. Want them. Du Lin said so. The area under his control now accounts for half of the world, and it is already at the peak level of the world government. So why can't the ruler of his new government find someone by issuing a wanted warrant? So in this year, something unprecedented happened. The Illuminati issued a wanted warrant, which immediately spread to the whole world through news birds. Oh, it's just the content of the order that shocked the whole morning. Marine Admiral, Sleepy Dog Aokiji Kazaru. Each of the three offered a reward of 2 billion Baileys. Marine Marshal Black Arm Zephyr, Marine Hero Garp the Fist. The two each offered a reward of 3 billion Baileys. 5 elders. Each of the 5 offered a reward of 5 billion Baileys. Finally, there is the real ruler of the world government, the man behind the scenes of the world, a guy named I Am. His bounty is a full 10 billion Baileys. This bounty should already be unprecedented. In addition to these main cadres of the world government, other officers of the general rank in the sea room were also rewarded. General Rear Admiral officers have 300 million berries, and Vice Admiral officers have 500 million berries. Special Marine Vice Admiral bounties like the Great Staff Crane are 1 billion Baileys. So, of course, the whole world is boiling. Only the world government has always offered rewards to others. When will the world government be offered rewards by others? This is really unprecedented. There are greedy lights in the eyes of countless people in the sea. Although it is a bit difficult to catch those monsters with amazing bounties. But the Illuminati has emphasized that even if they are not arrested, they just provide their location, and after confirmation, they can get 1/3 of the reward. This condition is not so difficult. The world, move into. Chapter 325. Garp returns home. It should be said that the whole world went crazy because of the sudden reward offered by the Illumination Club. You only need to report the whereabouts of high-level government officials to the Illuminati and you can get a huge sum of money. There are very few people in the world who can resist such a temptation. The world, which had become somewhat calm due to the truce between the Illuminati and the world government, is rapidly becoming turbulent. A large number of ambitious people have already started to act. They began to frantically search the sea for the whereabouts of high-level government officials. Even if the 5 elders and the enigmatic I Am can't be found, finding the top Marines will be a bonanza. Even if you can't even find a high-level Marine, just find an ordinary Rear Admiral or Vice Admiral, that's still quite a fortune. No one doubts the Illuminati, doubts that the Sun God can afford the huge, March 20th, bounty. After all, everyone knows that the great Sun God has found the final island and obtained the legendary Great Secret Treasure. The photo of the island covered with gold and silver treasures on the surface is still firmly in the hearts of everyone, and it is estimated that they will never forget it for a lifetime. Even if the bounty is paid to everyone, it's probably just a drop in the bucket for that Sun God, right? So people went completely crazy. Not to mention the areas controlled by the Illuminati, even where the member countries of the world government are located, a large number of people immediately started to act. Therefore, there was a huge commotion, and of course it was impossible for the people targeted by Du Lin to not know about it. Somewhere in the world is in the sky, above the high altitude that has almost escaped from this world and entered the universe. A huge aircraft floats here quietly. And inside the aircraft, the 5 elders are suppressing the anger in their hearts. That guy's attitude towards us has completely changed. The 5 elders knelt in front of I Am, and one of them lowered his head and spoke in a deep voice. At the beginning, he avoided us and didn't dare to expose it to us. But now he has dared to follow our tracks in reverse, and he should want to start the final battle with us. Ancient weapon. That guy must have mastered the 2 ancient weapons left by Joey Boy. Even Uranus, which was captured by Roger, may have been controlled by him. The expressions on the faces of the 5 elders were very serious. They have realized that the offensive and defensive situation has changed. The strength of the opponent is strong enough to fight them. Master I Am, what should we do next? The 5 elders never imagined that they would fall into this situation in their lifetime. Someone can actually drive them into a desperate situation. So much so that now they don't know what to do. The guy who claims to be a god is exaggerated, and with the ability of the space system, he can't kill him at all. Moreover, this guy possesses power that is not inferior to the government at all, and there are so many strong men under his command. He has even developed countless believers by virtue of the Enlightenment, and almost hundreds of millions of people in the world believe in him. There is no doubt that this is a formidable enemy that the world government has never had. It was so strong that if the 5 elders hadn't had the support of Lord I Am in front of them, they would have already wanted to surrender. Since he wants to fight head to head, we just can't give him this opportunity. Im's voice was flat. Although he has ruled the world for 800 years, he has developed an extraordinary arrogance. But Yim is still Yim, still the Yim who took the world by conspiracy and tricks 800 years ago. He has never felt how shameful it is to avoid the enemy's edge and hide in a wretched way for the time being. If he can win, then the more humiliating thing I am also willing to do. Notify the Marine side and continue to hide. Yes. That's all the 5 elders could answer. It's just that they don't know when to wait. If you continue to be patient, then one day the Illuminati will start to expand again, and maybe the whole world will be ruled by that group of people. By that time, where in this world will there be room for them? At least so far, there is no chance of defeating the partners at all. Look, keep looking. I am ordered, go find those space-type devil fruits. If you want to beat that guy, you have to put your hope on this. As long as we can block that house or the ability to teleport, then victory will be ours. I Am doesn't think the current situation is so bad. The reason why I was always led by that guy before was entirely because of his teleportation mobility and amazing destructive ability. But as long as he can suppress his ability, then it is absolutely possible to fight. So what if the guy got the ancient weapon that Joy Boy left behind? Wasn't Joy Boy the same 800 years ago? But the one who wins is still himself. I am as full of confidence in himself. The order from the world government was quickly passed on to Marine. Do you still want to continue lurking? Zephyr sighed. Ha ha ha, the government can't do anything about it. The Marine hero laughed loudly, chewing on the senbei. If possible, there should be no one who wants to defeat that group of people more than them. They should be figuring out a way. But then we're in big trouble. Vice Admiral, the chief staff officer who also stayed in this cabin, was a little worried. All the senior Marine officers are being targeted, and what we will face next will be an even worse situation than before. It would have been tragic enough that naval headquarters had been destroyed and that they were left to wander the seas without a permanent home. 2.9. But there are worse situations waiting for them. Yes. Zephyr nodded with a sigh. Our whereabouts will be more secretive. The new Marine Marshal couldn't help but feel pain in his heart. I don't even dare to openly appear on the sea, so is Marine still Marine? How should they maintain peace at sea? And one more thing. Crane Vice Admiral suddenly turned his head and glanced at the hero Garp. Garp, should you go back? What? The Marine hero froze for a moment. Your hometown should not be a secret. Crane Vice Admiral said seriously, someone will definitely be watching there. Your two grandsons are still there. Vice Admiral Garp was startled suddenly. Chapter 326. Garp and Drago. East Blue, Goa Kingdom. This country is quite famous in East Blue. It is said that the country is spotless and known as the most beautiful country in East Blue. But in fact, all people living in this country know that the so-called spotless is purely because the nobles exiled all unclean things. Whether it's trash items or trash people. Not far from the royal capital of this country, there is a mountain of garbage piled up at one time. Those who live in the mountain of garbage are garbage that is not needed by this country. But of course, these things are invisible to outsiders. All outsiders can see is the spotless city and its well-mannered residents. In addition to this aspect, another thing that this country is known for is that it is the hometown of the Marine hero. Such a great person came out of such a small country, so the royal family of the Goa Kingdom has always spared no effort to promote it. After all, in a small country like theirs, it is indeed very rare for such a great person to be born. But today, an unremarkable sea boat docked at a small village called Windmill Village on one side of the island. A man has landed. Call. The gray-haired, but still strong Marine hero disembarked and breathed a sigh of relief. It's been quite a while since I came back. Although the expansion of the Illuminati has not yet covered the island, the distance is not too far away. It is foreseeable that if the government and Marine still do nothing next, the country will sooner or later be ruled by those people. Vice Admiral Garp sighed again. Although he is always smiling, but at this time, it is inevitable that he will feel a little frustrated in his heart, because there is nothing he can do. He never questioned himself in the past. No matter what kind of opponent, he can face it calmly. But after fighting with that group of people, especially the Sun God several times, Garp deeply realized his own weakness. He couldn't do anything against that group of people. The eldest brother who once led him forward was killed, and the best friend who once fought side by side with him is still unconscious at this time. Many of the Marines were destroyed, and Marines could only hide underground from now on, never daring to openly appear on the sea again. There was nothing he could do about it all. Even now, if the Illuminati suddenly expands again, he can't even protect his own hometown. Sighing, Yin Zhong Vice Admiral stepped into the village. This is really a very small village. From the beginning to the end of the village, there are only about 20 houses. The most conspicuous thing is the windmill that is still spinning slowly, hence the name of the village. So when Vice Admiral Garp walked into the village, he was noticed very quickly. Garp, you're finally back. An old man wearing a hat walked quickly angrily. He looked about 60 years old, his back was a little bent, and he held a baby in his arms, really. What's the matter with you father and son? You left the child to us, but you slapped your butt and ran away. Ha ha ha. The Marine hero laughed, scratched the back of his head with his right hand, and looked calm, because it's impossible to take this kid on an adventure together, it's too dangerous for him. A year ago, the good rebellious son of Vice Admiral Garp suddenly informed him that he had a grandson. Even the well-informed hero Garp was a little confused when he got the news. The irresponsible D Dorag threw the child directly in Windmill Village, saying that it was too dangerous to follow him, so he hoped that his old father would take care of him. Vice Admiral Garp immediately returned to his hometown and met his grandson. Of course he was very happy about this, but the trouble that followed was that he couldn't take care of the child either. Marine's situation is much worse than that D Drago. Although Drago didn't know what he was doing, at least there were no enemies in the sea to trouble him. But Marine is different. If any accidental whereabouts are leaked, it will immediately usher in a merciless blow from the god of the sun. It was too dangerous to follow him. Therefore, Vice Admiral Garp had no choice but to entrust the child to an old friend in his hometown, that is, the head of Fengshe village, to take care of him. Anyway, he is already very experienced, and Drago came here in the same way when he was a child. But this time I can only take Luffy away. Vice Admiral Garp takes over grandson from old friend. The child who was only over 1 year old couldn't even speak, just looked at his silly smile, and stretched out his two tender short hands to pull his beard. I know. The village head nodded heavily. You are the sweet pastry in the sea now. There were even people from the neighboring town who came here before, wanting to hear about you, but we chased them away. There are also quite a few outsiders. If we hadn't called Marine in time, it would be unimaginable what would have happened later. Anyway, you'd better take Luffy away quickly. Garp sighed again, it's really bothering you. We don't bother. The old village chief shook his head, it's you Garp, be careful. Even he knows that the enemy this time is unprecedented. Vice Admiral Garp nodded slightly. If you know it, get out of here. The village chief waved his hands again and again, take good care of Luffy. Ha ha ha, how ruthless. Vice Admiral Garp laughed, but there's one more thing to do before that. 870 He left Windmill Village and walked into the mountain behind the village along the path leading into the mountain. There is still a grandson in the mountain. Since Luffy is going to be taken away, then that grandson must also be taken with him. But it is this time. Vice Admiral Garp, who was walking on a narrow mountain road, stopped suddenly. His brows were already furrowed. D. The marine hero raised his head and shouted towards the sky, how long don't you hide? Why don't you get out of here? Suddenly the wind blew in the forest. The breeze fell from the treetops and circled in front of Garp, finally condensing into the shape of a man. Long time no see. The man with long black hair looked at the child in Garp's arms, then raised his head to look directly at Marine's face, with a smile, Dad, I knew you would definitely come back. Dorag. Garp Zongjan looked at his big son, his brows were already wrinkled. But soon his brows relaxed again, are you also here to pick up Luffy? That's fine, it's safer for the child to follow you. There's a reason for that, though, father. Drago said seriously, I think we should talk. About the world. Today's designation cannot be added, and tomorrow the 6th update will make up the layer. Chapter 327. Dorag's Ambition. The location is deep in the mountains behind the Windmill Village in the Goa Kingdom. This place is considered inaccessible in this country. Everyone knows that there are many bandits deep in the mountains of this country, and they will go down the mountain to attack civilians from time to time. But the nobles who wanted to make the country clean turned a blind eye to this. Anyway, the bandits didn't dare to run into the city to make trouble. So the people living in this country have always been very clear, don't run deep into the mountains if you have nothing to do, you will encounter sudden surprises. But at this time, nothing interesting happened in this place, rather it is very warm. Hey, you two little devils, don't run around. The female bandit leader with a round figure and smoking a cigarette shouted loudly. In front of the woman, 2 children are playing. One is a little boy who looks like 4 or 5 years old. He is vigorously waving a wooden stick he picked up from nowhere. He is waving it vigorously and has a bright smile on his face. Sitting next to him was a younger kid who looked about 1 or 2 years old. This little brother who stared intently at the little brother who was waving a wooden stick in front of him smiled like a monkey. Really? Did you really just meet? Why do you feel that you are already very familiar with each other? The bandit woman shook her head, could it be that they are really brothers? Valet. What's the matter with the father and son? It's been a long time since we met, so do you want to catch up on the past? But it doesn't sound like an ordinary reminiscence. The woman could hear, and from inside the house, there were quarrels that he couldn't ignore. It must have been hard for these 2 guys, especially that old jerk from Garp. The woman shook her head. Even she who has lived in seclusion in the mountains all year round knows that the life of Marine in recent years has been difficult. Time went back to earlier, in the house. Tell me, Dorag, what do you want to say? The hero Garp sat on a wide bed, folded his arms around his chest, and looked at his son with a somewhat unfriendly expression. Drago stood in front, his face was quite serious. Father, what do you think of this world? World. The marine hero frowned, what do you mean? What do you think the world will look like next? Drago's voice was very flat, but what he said made the marine hero look serious. The confrontation between the Illuminati and the world government has become difficult to change, and the future direction of the whole world depends on their next earth-shattering move. Result of the battle. Vice Admiral Garp pursed his lips and remained silent. Of course he knows this kind of thing better than anyone else. But this kind of thing, father, are you willing? Drago looked straight at his old father and asked seriously. What nonsense are you talking about? Drago. Vice Admiral Garp snorted impatiently. Your father, I have been a marine all my life, and I have always only fought for justice, and of course I also look forward to the day when the government finally wins. Is that true, father? Drago said indifferently. Are you marines really willing to fight for that guy named I am? That's just slander from the Illuminati. The hero Garp's face sank. Who in the world can live forever? Is it really impossible? Drago breathed a sigh of relief slowly. Father, in fact, the scholars of Ohara didn't die back then. What? The hero Garp raised his head in astonishment, his eyes were wide open, and his eyes were filled with astonishment. What did you say? Because of the actions of the Illuminati and the God of the Sun, Marine was forced to evacuate, and it was impossible to confirm the life and death of the scholars. Drago said. In Yong time, Saul took the scholars and left by boat. Vice Admiral Garp's mouth quivered. Doesn't that mean Marine's sacrifice was useless? Sengoku's sacrifice didn't make any sense at all. After Saul took the scholars to the giant kingdom, they came back when the government stopped paying attention to Ohara, and brought back all the materials thrown into the water. Drago continued, I met them at that time, and I happened to witness the scene where the Knights of God kidnapped Vegapunk. Was Vegapunk really kidnapped by Illuminati? Garp remembered the incident. If Vegapunk is still there, maybe Sengoku has been cured. The scholars of Ohara have indeed been in search of the historical text. Drago said, and their research has already yielded some results. A huge kingdom did exist 800 years ago, and they were indeed wiped out by 20 kings. Dorag said to himself. After that, I was also helping them collect historical texts, and I was lucky enough to find a few. Nero na I am, one of the 20 kings 800 years ago, there is indeed such a guy. Vice Admiral Garp was silent for a long time, and then he continued to refute, even if such a guy exists, it doesn't mean that he can live until now, that is 800 years. No, it is possible. Drago said, Father, you should know, the most expensive devil fruit in the world. What is the charm of op fruit, which is offered by the government with a reward of 5 billion Baileys? Vice Admiral Garp couldn't help looking up at him. Op fruit has an ultimate mystery. Drago said, that's the legendary surgery of immortality. Vice Admiral Garp's eyes widened. He couldn't help asking softly, Dorag, is what you said true? Okay. Of course I have no need to deceive you. Drago sighed, I think you know better than me what the celestial dragons are doing. Now even the democratic freedoms that the world government has always advertised have been proved to be nothing more than empty talk. How does such an organization deserve Marine's allegiance? Vice Admiral Garp fell silent. The world government is not trustworthy, and the Illuminati are even more terrible. Drago's tone became serious, I have been to the country they ruled, and all the citizens are extremely fanatical about that god. Everything can be left behind, only belief in that god is the most important thing. If they really rule the world, then the world will be over. Drago said seriously, I want to defeat both sides of this war. Father, help me. Vice Admiral Garp remained silent. Chapter 328 Abilities. Vice Admiral Garp didn't immediately agree to his son's proposal, but even he had to admit that he was already seriously moved by it. He is trying hard to persuade himself to abide by the bottom line, to abide by the Marine Code that has been observed for decades, to be loyal to justice and to the people. But the more he persuaded himself, the more he realized that he was farther away from the government. Drago is right, the world government can no longer represent justice, and there is a high probability that I am really exists. If you continue to follow the world government, it will be tantamount to helping the evildoers. Even though I tried my best to suppress it, such thoughts still existed, inevitably popping up from my heart. Vice Admiral Garp was only able to leave Windmill Village in a hurry. The two grandsons did not take away, he entrusted them to Drago. After all, although Drago has a crazy idea and wants to accomplish a goal that is almost difficult to accomplish, at least he has not caused trouble at this stage, and there are no enemies in the sea. It is much safer to entrust the two children to him. Vice Admiral Garp also told Dorag the real-life experience of the child named Ace, but Dorag didn't care. What about the children of One Piece? The era of great pirates is over, and the world government and marine are also coming to an end, who cares whether One Piece is not One Piece? Then Vice Admiral Garp decided to join Zephyr and the others as quickly as possible. There needs to be a good talk between them. The world has indeed reached a crossroads of destiny, and the choice of their marine will be a very important part of this change. Outside the village of Windmill Village, Dorag watched the sea boat carrying his father leave in a hurry. He also sighed lightly. Father, don't let me down. To change the world, we need to gather all the forces we can muster. He thought of the kingdom of giants. That country has now fully believed in the god of the sun. It should be said that fortunately, when he realized that the Illuminati had already started preaching there, he immediately took Saul and the scholars away, otherwise, he might not be able to leave even if he wanted to. He will continue to work hard. Compared with the power held by the world government and the Illuminati, his side is still too far behind. It can even be said that it is not a level at all. After all, as far as he knows, IM should hold a terrifying weapon in his hands. The story of Water Star Island has already spread all over the world. And the sun god found the final island, and should have inherited the ancient weapon left by Joey Boy. There is no doubt that both sides have the power to destroy the world. So if you want to be enemies with them, you must also have the power to fight against them. Drago is not an idiot, since he is against the two strongest forces in the world, he must not take it lightly. But is there really such power in the world? The answer is, there really is. There are 3 in the legend. But Drago knows from the historical texts that there are only 2 passed down by Joyboy, and the other one was taken away by the world government. As for the ownership of the ancient weapon named Uranus, another accident occurred almost 20 years ago. Of course, this news did not come from the historical text, it is purely Dorag's own sources of information. He knew what happened in the Valley of the Gods back then, after all, his father was the one who witnessed it. Although I didn't know what was lost in the Valley of Gods back then, so that the government was so furious. But now, combined with the news obtained from the historical text, Turog can boldly speculate. It's Uranus. Uranus was lost at that time. Otherwise, if Uranus is still in the hands of the government, there is no reason for them not to come out and use it in the situation of Water Star Island. In the end, all the weapons were dispatched, but Uranus did not dispatch, isn't it completely unreasonable? BJAH, the only explanation is that Uranus is no longer in the hands of the world government. So whose hands did Uranus fall into? There is no need to guess at all. Back then, there were only 2 victors in the Valley of the Gods, the world government on one side, but they failed to keep Uranus. Then Uranus can only fall into the hands of another group. Roger Pirates. One Piece has seized the prey, taking Uranus from the Rocks Pirate and the world government. Although One Piece has long since passed away, the Roger Pirates have long been disbanded. But Roger must have entrusted Uranus to someone, and he must have been waiting for that last ancient weapon to come in handy. So, just look for the members of the Roger Pirates. This is what Drago has been doing for so long. If you want to get Uranus, you can only start from this aspect. Although it is hard to say that even if you get that ancient weapon, you will be able to keep pace with those two forces, but if you don't, you definitely won't have any chance of winning. Keep going, world government. Holding a child in one hand and looking at the sea, Drago muttered to himself, continue to attract that guy's attention, and delay the time a little longer. Yes, Drago believes that the sun god will win in the end, not the world government that has mastered the ultimate weapon and ruled the world for 800 years. There's no particular reason, just a simple feeling. What happened in such an obscure village as East Blue is naturally unknown. The most active thing on the sea at this time is marine hunting. No one knows where the 5 elders are hiding. Therefore, the hyenas on the sea who longed for the huge bounty offered by the Illumination Club could only cast their sights on the Marines who were still working hard to maintain law and order at sea even at this point. While the top ranks of the Marine are still missing, the General Rear Admiral ranks are active. Bearing the brunt, they ushered in disaster. But this matter is nothing to Du Lin. Not to mention just a few Rear Admiral Vice Admirals, even if the entire naval headquarters, from the Marshal to the Admirals, is all in one pot at this time, he doesn't care much. Do you know what invincibility is? He has only one target now, only I am. After getting rid of that guy, the world is almost complete. But it is a pity that guy I am turned into a shrinking turtle, and there has been no news of him for so long. But this period of time is not without gains. During this period of time, several people who accepted the high-level fire bestowed by Du Lin and became Knights of the Gods finally gave Du Lin new abilities. You can read more daily new novels on Fiction Zone. Chapter 329 Respective Abilities. After the awakening of abilities, although Du Lin's soul power was not directly sublimated like that of his body, it also ushered in a huge improvement. The most intuitive performance is that he can now produce 4 or 5 high-level fire seeds almost every month, giving birth to several god knights. This sounds like a very good thing in the world. After all, even if the Knights of the Gods are not good at fighting, they will often dedicate a special ability to Du Lin. However, things are not that simple. It is very easy to bestow Tinder, as long as you don't resist, as long as Du Lin has enough soul power, then there is no difference between giving high-level Tinder and ordinary Tinder. The problem is whoever gets the Tinder. Not everyone can awaken their own power through high-level fire. For example, the leader of the Sun Knights, Du Lin's original subordinate, Mr. Frame. A few years ago, Du Lin had given him a high-level spark because of his hard work, and because no one was more suitable to become the new Knight of God. But to this day, Fram has not awakened his own power zone. Fram even felt tremendous psychological pressure because of this, feeling that he had tarnished the glory of the Knight of God. When Fram became the Knight of God, he was already considered weak. Skillful two-color hockey, skilled Mara fruit, coupled with a strong physique, in Qinghai, it is at least the level of Marine Elite Vice Admiral. But still failed to wake up. It can only be said that such things as qualifications are really unreasonable. It should be said that what Fram lacks is heart. When Enel awakened his ability, he was much weaker than him. Therefore, the dilemma that Du Lin is facing now is that there is a surplus of high-level fire, but not enough people. Fortunately, the 2 battles last year gave him many subordinates with extraordinary strength and potential. Kaido, Hawkeye, Katakuri, Jhin, these are undoubtedly suitable candidates for the Knight of God. There are also Doflamingo who became the Knight of God before them, and second-tier characters like Quinn, Cracker, and Smoothie. Du Lin was not stingy either, and gave them all high-level fire. Of course, the more new abilities you can get, the better. However, although they all got high-level fire seeds, Quinn, Jhin, Smoothie, Cracker and others did not join the Knights of God. The reason for Quinn and Jhin is very simple, they don't think they are qualified to be the boss of Kaido, so they become the subordinate officers of Jonduo. The 2 of them made a show, and so did Cracker and Smoothie. The 2 of them respect Katakuri just like Quinn and Jhin respect Kaido, and they don't think they can be compared with this respected brother. So the 3 who finally joined the Knights of God were Hawkeye, Kaido and Katakuri. But this year, a lot of abilities have been awakened. Open black lens bracket dragon close black lens bracket. This is the ability that Kaido has awakened. The ability to turn an ability user into a dragon. At first glance, it is unclear, so I even feel that it overlaps with the blue dragon fruit that Kaido originally held. But in fact, this is quite a powerful ability. In terms of this ability, Kaido directly transcends the shackles of devil fruit, and can transform into a real mythical dragon. Traveling in the universe, the heavens are coming, change as you like, and enjoy longevity. To a certain extent, Kaido's ability to transform into a dragon at this time is close to the fruit of the pterosaur before Du Lin's awakening. Du Lin calls himself the god of the sun, so Kaido can be regarded as a dragon god at least. Du Lin quite likes this ability, so that he can become a serious pterosaur. The ability awakened by Doflamingo is called Fate Line. The panel said that the reason why he awakened this ability was due to his personality of always wanting to play with other people's lives. This is also a strong exaggerated ability. Simply put, Doflamingo is able to create a special silk thread. The fate of enemies struck by this thread will be decided by Doflamingo. Although it is impossible to understand and arrange in detail what the hit person will encounter next, it is still possible to understand and change with high precision whether the person is lucky or unlucky next. It's a bit similar to Yunyungwo, but it goes a step further. It is worth mentioning that Doflamingo can not only use this ability on humans, strictly speaking, not only living things, but even dead objects can be the target of the ability. Compared with him, Hawkeye's awakened ability is slightly inferior. Hawkeye's ability is called open black lens bracket cutting close black lens bracket. It is the ability to split a target in two. To some extent, it is similar to Kisara's destruction. If it can continue to become stronger, then of course it can evolve into a terrifying ability that can even cut off concepts. For a swordsman, this ability is of course very suitable. Seeking Flowers 0. Katakuri's awakened abilities depend on his talent on observation haki. It's called future vision. Simply put, it is the ability to see the future, making him an enhanced version of observation haki to meet the future. But this ability is stronger in two aspects. One is that Katakuri was able to see the change. It is no longer a static future, but a future of all possibilities that are changing. No matter how much he tries to change, Katakuri will also be happy to see the final future. The second is prophecy. When Katakuri looks at someone, he can see that person's future. This ability is quite powerful, and the soothsayer is no more than that. It's just a pity that Katakuri's ability can only be activated if he sees himself, otherwise he can try to find Im's whereabouts directly through the prophecy. Then there are a few affiliates. Jhin's awakened power is also not ordinary. That is the ability called open black lens bracket adaptation close black lens bracket. It is derived from the powerful vitality of the Lunalia tribe that can adapt to various environments. Now Jhin truly has the ability to adapt to various harsh situations. It's just a pity that this kind of adaptation is not evolution but transformation. Jhin couldn't directly stack all of his resistances to full capacity. The environment he can adapt to at the same time is limited. Quinn's ability is called Machine Master. It is very straightforward to be able to control the ability to control machinery like one's own body. Of course, this ability is also exaggerated. As long as there is enough resource supply, it is not difficult to create a mechanical empire. Because Cracker is very afraid of pain, he awakened the ability called Stand In. Similar to the ability Hawkins has, Rick can designate someone or something to take damage for him. Of course, if you want to specify, you also need to meet some conditions. The last smoothie, she is Paramesha, a fruit squeezer who can squeeze water out of anything. Awakened abilities are also related to this. That is the ability called open black lens bracket distortion close black lens bracket. To put it simply, it is possible to remotely twist people into twists and squeeze juice. It's a bit like the twisting eye, but it doesn't activate through the eyes. This is also an ability that is developed to the point that it is almost conceptual, and it can distort everything. These are the new abilities that Du Lin got. Chapter 330 do the opposite. Du Lin got a bunch of new abilities from his subordinates. Honestly, some of them are really funny. For example, Quinn's mechanical manipulation. The interesting thing about this ability is that only things that are judged to be mechanical can be manipulated. Even chopsticks and brooms, the most basic machinery, can be manipulated. But if it's something like iron ingots and steel bars, it can't be manipulated at all. Machinery refers to tools or devices that can help people reduce the difficulty of work or save effort. Chopsticks and brooms are mechanical, but iron body bars are not. Of course, sword blades and firearms are also considered machines, and Du Lin can also directly manipulate them with his own will, bringing back 1,000 swords. But to be honest, this ability overlaps with his life-giving. Instead of trying to control it by himself, 377, of course directly endows the machine with life, making it more convenient for them to act on their own. In addition, Doflamingo's Fate line is also a very interesting move. The silk thread produced can even be connected to a stone, and then manipulate the fate of the stone. Inanimate objects are not lucky in the subjective sense. So his luck is judged based on Du Lin. When Du Lin wanted the stone to be lucky, he broke the stone and found the emerald inside the stone. When Du Lin wanted another stone to be unlucky, the stone was suddenly kicked by Hancock, who ran up for no reason, and hit Du Lin's toe. The ability to truly control fate. Du Lin looks forward to the continued evolution of this ability. Coupled with Katakuri's prediction of the future, is it equivalent to Habak's omniscience in a sense? But the joy of getting so many new abilities can't offset the boredom in Du Lin's heart. That guy IM has been unable to shrink back, and the final decisive battle has been unable to start for a long time. Although Du Lin has been on the island of the gods for almost 10 years, it stands to reason that he should be able to get used to this boring life. But when expectations for change arose in my heart, this unchanging daily life began to become a bit boring. Du Lin decided to use the strategy of luring the snake out of the hole proposed by Morgans. But of course, if I swaggered to a certain place on the sea and stopped to reveal my whereabouts, saying that I was here, it would be too much to treat that guy IM as a fool. Since that guy has decided to hide, he will definitely not show up easily. So a more roundabout approach has to be used. For example, tell IM indirectly through some means that he is on the island of gods. If IM's guys have already found their lair, then there is no reason to continue to stay still, right? What was always thought to be very troublesome in the past may now become a key layer to end this long confrontation. As long as IM feels that the victory is in hand, and then launches an attack, then it's time to end everything. The strategy has been set, so now there is only one problem. How should I pass the news that I am staying on the island of gods to the world government? Du Lin thinks this is not a difficult task. Can someone please help? For example, the Roger Pirates. Haven't you been hunting down the Roger Pirates all this time? Then this darkness can be brought to light. It doesn't even need to specifically explain why they are chasing and killing them. The world government itself will take action to find out the reason. It is enough to let the world government know that he is doing the remnants of the Roger pirates. Don't worry about the rest. And how to let the world government know about it? That is of course very simple. The sky is quite empty and Luo Luo is launched. Stussy. There is an internal response in the world government, and it becomes very simple to send a message to the government. So now there is only one last question left. Where can I find members of the Roger pirates? It's a bit ashamed to say that although the hunt for the Roger pirates has been launched for a long time, there has been no result. The remnants of the Roger pirates are well hidden. Except for Rayleigh and Crocus who are fearless, Dulin has not yet found the third member of the Roger pirates. But it doesn't matter, the whereabouts of the two guys are relatively easier to find. Mahad. Dulin activated Tien Ting Kong Luo again. Use all your power to search for the red hair pirates and the clown buggy. Unlike the rest of the Roger pirates who have been completely reclusive, there are two guys who are still active in the sea. The redhead should have been back on the Grand Line, and the guy Buggy the Clown must have been hanging out in the East Blue. Constrict all its power to search for these two guys, and it will take a long time to produce results. Especially Buggy the Clown, East Blue is not as chaotic as Grand Line. Everything has been arranged, and then, all you need to do is wait. All intelligence systems under Dulin's command were activated. Morgan's all-pervasive crew of reporters sprang into action. The intelligence agency of the Charlotte family, commanded by Katakuri, is also on the move. Even Stussy, who sneaked into CP, is manipulating the CP system to search at the same time. Of course, the biggest movement has to be the Illuminati. The scope covered by the Illuminati at this time is the entire half of the world, and there is no more powerful intelligence agency than them in the world. His Excellency God Tier conveyed God's will to all nations. So all the countries under his command began to act. Half the world has begun a covert operation. The dignitaries of various countries began to mobilize their contacts to search. Now even 3.4 doesn't need Stussy's special help. It is impossible for the government not to know what happened this time. Thus, the five elders were alarmed. What's going on? Those people are searching for the remnants of the Roger pirates. Because of what? Why do such boring things? It must be because Roger pirates have something. What secret? Or something else? Uranus. Must be Uranus. Roger didn't put Uranus on the last isle. He must have entrusted Uranus to someone. If this is the case, then this matter cannot be let go. Get CP and Marine to act. Go find it. Although the world government has misunderstood something, it doesn't matter, the goal has been perfectly achieved. Then just wait. Chapter 331 Buggy's Tragedy Day. Searching for the remnants of the Roger pirates. The hero Garp, who just returned to the Wandering Marine headquarters, happened to receive the latest order from the government with his friends. After Vice Admiral Garp heard this order, he was taken aback immediately. What does this mean? It's all critical, so what do they do? He was very puzzled. The Roger pirates have been disbanded long ago. Since then, the cadres of this pirate group have lived in seclusion and have never come out to make trouble. Since this is the case, it doesn't matter what they do. The biggest enemy now is not the god of the sun. What good is it to provoke new enemies now? To this, five elders' answer is yes. The Illuminati are looking for them too. Those guys must be carrying some secrets. The Illuminati must not let them find them before we do. The five elders didn't tell Marine their guesses. Of course, weapons like Uranus still have to be honestly held in their hands to be worthy. The five elders have even started to imagine that as long as they can get Uranus back again, their chances of winning will be even higher. Hearing that this matter was related to the Illuminati, the Marines did not dare to neglect, and even Vice Admiral Garp subconsciously regarded this matter as a top priority 19. The two names of the Illuminati and the Roger pirates are not easy just to think about them. There must be some big secret hidden behind them. This matter must be taken seriously. So after finishing the call with five elders, Vice Admiral Garp said to Zephyr with some hesitation. Zephyr, we should talk. Talk. About what? Marshal Zephyr was a little different. His old friend rarely looked forward and backward like this. Therefore, Zephyr inevitably became a little solemn. Since Garp has become like this, it means that there must be something very important. About this world, Garp felt it was time to decide what the future of Marine was going to be. The Illuminati controlled half of the world, and the world government and Marine controlled the rest of the world for a day and a half. So when both of them act, many things have already been decided. East Blue. In a certain sea area, a Japanese ship with a pirate flag is advancing rapidly. The cabin of this ship is similar to a circus-like tent, and it has to be said that it looks quite special. In the cabin, a man with a big red nose sat on a large chair with his legs crossed, asking lazily. How far is it? It's almost there, Captain Buggy. A pirate poked his head in at the door of the tent, and said respectfully, we're about to arrive at Lulusia Island. The man named Clown, Buggy nodded lightly, and he grinned a bright smile. This time we're going to make a big fuss. Yes, Captain Buggy. A series of cheers came from the plywood outside the tent in an instant. But there was also a guy who said cautiously, but Captain Buggy, Lulusia Island is almost approaching the sea area controlled by the Illuminati. Those B************ D Sun Knights never care about the border, they often run across the border and wander around. If they meet them, they will be in big trouble. Who cares about them? Buggy the Clown sneered. Even their gods couldn't stop Lousy from plundering Lulusia Island, Lousy said. Seeing the pirates under his command so resolutely, of course they didn't dare to say anything, they could only continue sailing silently. HMPH. Everyone is saying that the era of great pirates is over. Lousy won't believe it. In the cabin, the clown Buggy muttered to himself angrily, how could the era of great pirates started by Captain Roger come to an end like this? This great era will definitely continue, it will. Even if everyone doesn't want to be a pirate anymore, Lousy will stick to it until he gets all the treasures in the world. He has extraordinary persistence. The pirate ship continued to move towards Lulusia Island. The distance is really very close, and it didn't take too long for the outline of an island to appear on the sea ahead. Ha ha ha, little ones. Go ahead. The clown Buggy stood on the bow of the boat, stepped on the side of the boat and laughed loudly, then we have to make a big fuss. Oh. Behind him, the pirates have already started to cheer. And neither the pirates nor the clown hockey knew that the island ahead was waiting for their arrival last time. I saw it. A man in a black suit stood at a corner of the port, looking at the pirate ship in the distance with binoculars. It's the Buggy pirates. Confirmed. Buggy the Clown is on board. He has a phone bug in his hand and is talking to someone. The voice of the person on the phone rang. When they land on the shore, arrest the clown Buggy. Marine will send someone to answer and send him over in the shortest possible time. The sound is crisp and sweet, and it can only be pronounced by one person. Yes, Stussy Day. The man nodded heavily. After hanging up the phone, the man turned his head, and there was a group of companions behind him. Whether you can get promoted and get rich depends on the next battle. At that time, the pirate ship was getting closer and closer to 690. Everyone has reached out to the weapon. Ready to fight. Ha 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 ha. Accompanied by wild laughter, the pirate ship rushed into the port in a rampage. The civilians who saw this scene immediately began to flee crazily. Agents from the government are already ready to take action. However, it is this time. Crackling. Black and white thunder suddenly fell from the sky, directly smashing the pirate ship to pieces. What? The government agent who was already ready to go froze instantly. That thunder. That black and white thunder. The agents felt their bodies stiffened, the blood in the whole body was almost frozen. Black thunder. Enel. The monster suddenly appeared. The agents didn't dare to make any more moves, and even subconsciously prepared to escape. In the broken pirate ship, a figure soared into the sky, and he was holding another guy in his hand. I can't let you reveal our secret. Accompanied by such a slight sound, the two people in the sky have disappeared. There, secret. The agents looked at each other. Did you hear something terrible? Chapter 332 Next up, Red Hair Pirates. Their secret. This news was reported layer by layer at the first time, and it was directly passed to the ears of the five elders. The five elders didn't dare to be negligent, and immediately brought the news to Mr. IM and told him the news. Any news about the Illuminati and the God of the Sun is important, and no neglect is allowed, let alone these 10 times seem to be particularly important. Lord IM muttered softly, what's their secret? I don't know. Of course, the five elders can only answer in this way, but what is certain is that it must be a very important secret. Otherwise, there's no need to search all over the place. In that case, let's go find it and keep looking. Master IM said, there are other members of the Roger Pirates. We still have a chance to continue to look for them. Find out, what kind of secret is that? Of course IM was very interested in that secret. Anything that helps him win that war, he's interested. So, the world government started searching again. At the same moment, the island of gods. Buggy saw God. This is the second meeting, Buggy the Clown. Despising Du Lin, who was leaning on the maid's arms to eat fruit, he didn't even turn his head to look at Buggy, just said lightly. You be asterisk 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 D. Buggy the Clown's eyes have widened. He never thought that there would be a time to meet this guy again in this life. Of course he will never forget the man in front of him in his whole life. The master of the Illuminati, the legendary god of the sun, the monster of monsters. When I followed Captain Roger to Sky Island, I had a meeting with him. Why would he grab himself? Buggy's heart was full of puzzlement. I have a question for you. Du Lin asked leisurely, do you know where the egg on the Roger Pirates went? The Roger Pirates did have a huge egg on board. In the past Du Lin didn't know what it was. But after going to the final island and reading the historical text left by Joey Boy, Du Lin suddenly became enlightened. It was the egg of Uranus. Uranus is a dragon that originally perched on the top of the Sun Tree Eve. And Yangshu Eve is near Mariajoy, which is where the Burka people were. When the Burka people arrived there to establish a country, they had already established a good friendly relationship with Uranus. After Im's rebellion, Joyboy and the remaining Burka people took away Uranus, and transformed it through biotechnology, and finally formed an unrivaled and strongest creature. That is Uranus, one of the 3 ancient weapons. Yes, 2 of the so-called 3 ancient weapons are biological, and they are all passed down from generation to generation. Uranus is also mortal like the mermaid princess, but they can reproduce by laying eggs. The reason why IM was able to capture Uranus is all because he killed the previous generation of Uranus, and then took Uranus's eggs empty. The last time the Uranus was replaced was about 20 years ago, at the location of the Valley of the Gods. Responsible for the care of Uranus at that location is a family of celestial dragons named Figaland. This is the message left by Roger. During that battle, Rox was heading towards Uranus, but unfortunately he was stopped. Roger specifically mentioned that among the people who stopped Rox, besides him and Garp, there was also a celestial dragon named Figaland Geringer. Dulin didn't care about this, the only thing he cared about was that Uranus's egg was finally snatched by Roger. But Roger didn't mention where he ended up putting the egg in his message. What a nasty guy, so I can only ask Roger's partners to ask. Egg. A trace of confusion flashed across Buggy's face. You're talking about that inexplicable egg. How could Lousy know about that kind of thing? Dulin nodded slightly. Judging by this guy's subconscious reaction, he shouldn't be lying. Then take it with you. Since there is no use for it, the only use for Buggy is of course to be used as a material for replicating devil fruit. His split fruit is also somewhat useful. It's unknown where Buggy came from, so it's also unclear where he left. Sure enough, do you still have to look at the red hair? Dulin said to himself. Compared with Buggy, a guy who was purely by luck, the red-haired guy is a matter of course. Roger's successor, it is also a matter of course that Roger entrusts the owner to him. However, if the plan is to be carried out, and the remaining red hair pirates are used to deliver messages to the world government, the red hair must be surrendered to the government. It would not be so easy to take Uranus that way. But. It doesn't matter. The corners of Dulin's mouth raised. What about Uranus? After witnessing the power of Pluton with his own eyes, Dulin can confirm that the so-called ancient weapon is by no means invincible in front of him. So, just go ahead with the plan. Even the red hair pirates are having trouble hiding their tracks when the entire world is on fire. After all, they also need to dock to replenish supplies. About a month later, the trail of the red hair pirates was in front of Dulin. They have all entered the new world. It is still unclear what situation they are facing, and they are still sailing leisurely. Then, it's up to the government then. So soon, Ms. Stussy, a senior executive of CPD, received the sighting records of red hair pirates by chance. And after some speculation, by Nuos, the next sailing direction of the red hair pirates was confirmed. Then well, send Marine. The five elders immediately issued an order, absolutely arrest the red-haired kid before the Illuminati. They added another sentence. Also, this kid tries to catch alive. After all, the red-haired kid is from the Phagiland family. It's just that the five elders didn't expect that when their order was issued to Marine, someone also received the news. Somewhere in the new world, a strong wind blew up into the sky. The opportunity is here. Dulin never thought of Ming. At the critical juncture when he was about to succeed, his clever plan unexpectedly ushered in an inexplicable change. He wasn't going to take part in the arrest of the red hair, he was going to hand over the kid to the government. So, of course, the unexpected is going to happen. Chapter 333 Red Hair and Drago. Marine was the first to act. Marine hero Vice Admiral Garp led the team himself, accompanied by two admirals, Kizaru Aokiji. The strongest marine hero Garp, the most mobile Kizaru, and Aokiji who can build a foothold on the sea at will, Marine has sent the strongest and most suitable lineup. Constructing the battlefield, attacking the fortifications head-on, and chasing the enemy, all three aspects have been taken into account. This time Marine's move was inevitable. But at the moment when the Marines were dispatched, another man came to the door. It was a rather weird-looking man, with hair and beard protruding forward one after another, forming a crescent-like shape together. Vice Admiral Garp was surprised to see the man. Long time no see, Vice Admiral Garp. The visitor's attitude was quite casual and straightforward, and he sat on the side of this ordinary boat with his buttocks, and crossed his legs leisurely. I didn't expect you to go out in person. The hero Garp's eyes are full of meaning, Figaland Geringer Saint. The man in front of him is none other than the Celestial Dragons, the elite of the Figaland family who were very active in the Valley of the Gods incident. After that, I heard that he has joined the Knights of God. It's not the Gods Knights under the command of the Sun God, but the organization formed by the Celestial Dragons 740 who selected the elites in the clan. They are the strongest combat force of Celestial Dragons, and they are also the only organization that can judge Celestial Dragons. That boy Shanks, the big shot from the Knights of God pondered for a while, I'm going to bring him back myself. Hero Garp nodded slightly. After the Valley of the Gods incident, it was heard that a child of the Figaland family was missing. Now it appears that child has been found. However, the disappearing Celestial Dragon suddenly appeared in front of him, which meant that the real center of the government might be nearby right now. So why didn't they go out and capture the red hair pirates themselves? After a little thought, Garp came to the conclusion that he should not dare. The government was afraid that the Illuminati, who were also chasing the red-haired pirate ship, would notice them. They were afraid of fighting the Sun God head-on. In other words, has the horror of that group reached this level now? With an extremely heavy heart and complicated thoughts, the marine battleship disguised as an ordinary ship slowly set sail, the target BJBC, Red Hair Pirates. The Red Hair Pirates didn't know it at all at this time, they had become the center of the storm, and they were sailing leisurely on the Sea of New World at this time. They had just finished exploring one island and were now heading to the next. Ha 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 ha, what an interesting place. The sniper Usopp with dreadlocks smiled cheerfully, even though they are out of danger, they still don't want to talk. The residents on the island that just landed have a very peculiar custom, all of them cannot speak, and they all rely on sign language to communicate. It is because there is a particularly ferocious bird living on the island. This kind of bird has very sensitive hearing, but its vision is extremely weak, and it relies on sound to catch prey. After the red hair pirates arrived on the island, they helped the residents of the island to get rid of all the birds, and of course they became the heroes of the island. But even so, the residents on the island still use sign language to communicate, and they are used to this kind of life. After entering the new world, every time you log in, you will have a new harvest. Ben Beckman, the deputy captain of the ship, also smiled. I don't know what interesting things and people I will meet next. This is adventure, breaking through the unchanging life and always pursuing a new world. Ha ha ha, you will know about that kind of thing soon. The red-haired Shanks stood at the bow of the boat, with his hand on the hat above his head, holding a little girl in his arms, looking very energetic. Captain Roger, the era of great pirates you started seems to have come to an end here. But the spirit of the pirate will never disappear. I will continue to sail on this. To pursue a more beautiful scenery, to pursue a more beautiful world. But it is this time. The redhead raised his head abruptly. There is a wind blowing in the sky. It is a matter of course that there will be wind on the sea. If there is no sea breeze, then the sailboat will not be able to sail. But the current gust of wind is not right, completely wrong. Who is it? The red-haired right hand has subconsciously pressed on the hilt of the sword at his waist. The sloppy expression on his face disappeared in the blink of an eye, replaced by a serious and cold expression. This breath is no joke. Don't get me wrong, Ginks the Red. The wind fell from the sky. On the red-haired deck, they finally condensed into a man. The dark green cloak on his body fluttered, and the long black hair fluttered behind his head. Who are you guys? Usopp had already raised his musket immediately, aiming the black muzzle directly at the person coming. Not only him, but the rest of the red-hair pirates also immediately drew their weapons, ready to fight this unknown guy at any time. No matter how powerful the enemy is, they will never be afraid of it. I don't mean to be your enemy. The visitor spread his hands, indicating that he was not hostile. Actually, I came here to save you. Save us. A fat man named Laji Lu frowned. I don't think there is a situation where we have to be rescued. The visitor said meaningfully, many times our eyes and ears will deceive us, what we see and hear is not the whole picture of the world. What nonsense are you talking to him about? Usopp was furious. No matter how you look at it, you are here to play tricks and deceive us. No. Fortunately, the vice captain on board, Beckman is a very wise and quick-witted man. He noticed the sincerity on the face of the man in front of him. It's not bad to listen to. He raised his eyebrows. So, stranger, what exactly have we encountered? A danger that we don't even know ourselves. The person who came, that is, the man named Drago, finally smiled slightly at this time, and sure enough, there are reasonable people among the pirates. He said seriously, the Illuminati are hunting down the remnants of the Roger pirates, the world government has also been involved, and the clown buggy has been captured by the Illuminati. What? The red-haired man could no longer maintain his composure, his forehead was even dripping with sweat in an instant. You said, buggy. Chapter 334 Shocked Red Hair. After Drago's voice fell, the red hair had already determined that this guy should not be bluffing. Even if he is really a liar, he must be a liar who has done his homework. There are not many people in the world who know that they and Buggy were once part of the Roger pirates. What exactly is going on? Shanks has subconsciously exclaimed. In the beginning, it was the Illuminati who started hunting you with great fanfare. Maybe it was also hunting you before, but the movement was not that big. Drago said. This matter quickly attracted the attention of the world government, and they immediately got involved. It's not difficult to understand. Beckman nodded slightly. Whatever the Illuminati want, it would be good for the government to stop them. When the Illuminati and the world government start to act at the same time, there is very little in the world that can hide from them things. Drago said. The buggy pirates were discovered in East Blue, and although the world government also sent agents there to arrest him, the Illuminati went one step ahead. The Knight of God personally dispatched, the Black Thunder Enel descended on East Blue, directly destroyed the buggy pirates, and captured the clown buggy. The redhead's teeth were clenched. Buggy, that's his best friend and childhood sweetheart. So, it's Shanks' turn next, right? Compared to the redhead, Beckman is much calmer, but even so, he has the same frown. Drago nodded slightly. But why? Usopp couldn't help but asked, didn't Shanks say before that One Piece had a good relationship with that sun god, and even considered him his teacher? Drago's eyes lit up in an instant, so he could probably guess what Enel meant by not letting the remnants of the Roger pirates reveal their secrets. Does One Piece know the god of the sun? Hayley left a word when he captured the clown buggy. Drago was blunt, he said you couldn't let their secrets out. Secret. Beckman also grasped the point instantly, he looked at Shanks, what secret? The redhead paused. What secrets could they know of the sun god? Could it be the real name of a god that no one on the sea knows? Du Lin. Is it just because of the name? Of course not. The redhead knew what it was for. Probably because. Shanks breathed a sigh of relief. We all went to Captain Roger's hiding place back then. Well, I know that guy Du Lin's lair. Du Lin. Drago clenched his fists. The excitement on his face was beyond words. Is this the name of the sun god? The Roger pirates have even been to his base camp. It's such a secret. Right. That is to say, it takes such a heavyweight secret to be worth such a big fight by the Illuminati. Now the world government and the Illuminati are like two hunters hiding in the dark forest. Whoever reveals his whereabouts first will be shot from the darkness. While Du Lin, the god of the sun, is constantly looking for the whereabouts of the world government, he will definitely spare no effort to erase all traces of himself at sea. That's why the Roger pirates are being targeted. Even, GUK didn't think about another piece of weight. That guy Du Lin was able to find the final island so easily and quickly. Did he really collect all 4 landmarks of the historical text? If it is true, as the mysterious guy in front of him said, the Illuminati had hunted down the remnants of their Roger pirates a long time ago. So, is it possible that Du Lin learned of the whereabouts of the final island through one of his former companions? The redhead's heart was a little messed up. He believed in his predecessors very much, and he knew that they would never compromise easily. Therefore, if it is really as he guessed, then he can't imagine what happened in it. Isn't that the end? Usopp clasped his head in his hands, almost collapsed. Even the Charlotte family, Beasts pirates and Whitebeard pirates were easily settled by that group. How could we win them? Although it is true, no matter what kind of enemy, they will never be afraid. But really, when a powerful enemy that is absolutely impossible to defeat is in front of you, you will still feel pain. Not just the Illuminati. Beckman pinched the bridge of his nose. Don't forget about world government. Quote. Ask for flowers. Usopp's face Jonin couldn't help showing a smile that was uglier than crying. Then what should we do now? He asked the question that everyone on the ship wanted to ask the most at this time. Yeah, what should I do now? Faced with the two sides of the Illuminati and the world government, they seem to have nowhere to escape. Actually, it is not difficult to solve the problem. Beckman put it this way, just tell the world government the location of the sun god's lair, and they will be overwhelmed immediately. Usopp's eyes lit up instantly. That's right. In that case, they will face attacks from the world government immediately, and of course they won't have extra energy to deal with me. However, if the Illuminati are not defeated, then we are about to usher in their crazy revenge. 0. Beckman reminded. The smile that Usopp showed just now disappeared in an instant, and the whole person became listless again. It's over. It's really over. So, who are you? Beckman looked to Drago. It can be heard from this guy's words that he neither belongs to the Illuminati nor is he a member of the world government. His identity is very doubtful. Sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. Drago said apologetically, my name is Drago, and I am a person who aspires to overthrow the world government and eliminate the Illuminati. No matter which side of them wins, it will only bring disaster to this world, and this world needs a new order. The members of the Red Hair Pirates looked at each other in dismay. This guy is crazy, right? Does he know what he's saying? But it's not an easy thing to do. Drago looked at the redhead, very solemnly, so, Mr. Shanks, I need your help, Uranus's help. The red-haired pupils shrank instantly. How does this guy know? Sensitively noticing the red hair's reaction, Dorag breathed a sigh of relief, but at the same time his heart was already full of excitement. You guessed it. I know you're full of doubts now, so I think we can talk about it later, but before that, get out of here. Go ahead and hit the Marine's warship. Chapter 335 Returning without success and returning with full rewards. On God's Island, Du Lin is still waiting for the good news from Stussy. I don't have much friendship with the red hair, that guy will never swear to die in order to hide his whereabouts. As long as the red-haired gang falls into the hands of the world government, then the final decisive battle can be staged immediately. All the troubles in this world will finally be solved. Du Lin was contentedly surrounded by the maids, enjoying a peaceful life that shouldn't last long. It's just that he would never have imagined that what he thought to be a seamless arrangement had gone awry. The trajectory of the Red Hair Pirates has been confirmed, and the marine warship is approaching quickly, intending to wait for the island they are going to next and capture them. This is by no means a difficult task. After all, even in the New World, if you want to sail, you still need to record the 250 pointer. Although the record pointer of the New World version can point to 3 different islands at one time. But as long as their course is confirmed on the last island that the Red Hair Pirates passed by, their destination will be easy to judge. However, such a judgment is based on the fact that the Red Hair Pirates did not change the defensive line midway. So, now, the situation that Marine is facing is that. Why haven't you come yet? Warships disguised as ordinary merchant ships had been arriving at the island that was supposed to be the next destination of the Red Hair Pirates for several days. They were all ready for the next fierce battle, but unexpectedly, the Red Hair Pirates didn't come at all. Redhead Shanks, you never came. Where did you go? Maybe they encountered some kind of problem along the way, so the voyage time was longer than expected. The Marines decided to split up some of their troops to stay on the island, while the others searched in reverse along the route where the Hongfahai group should have come. But sadly, nothing came of it. The Red Hair Pirates seem to have disappeared, and no one knows where they went. The news quickly spread back to the moving naval headquarters, and soon to the ears of the 5 elders. What? The Red Hair Pirates disappeared. The 5 elders were furious. Where did they go? But no matter how angry they are, they can't change the fact that the Red Hair Pirates are nowhere to be found, and no one knows where they went. The 5 elders can only accept this reality. Damn it. Could it be that he was captured in advance by the Knight of God sent by that guy again? Damn it. Couldn't it be such a coincidence? Maybe they encountered something temporarily, so they decided to change their course and go to another place. The 5 elders still don't want the Red Hair Pirates to fall into Du Lin's hands. Because in that case, no matter what Du Lin's purpose is, it will be more likely to be achieved, which is something the 5 elders don't want to see anyway. But what the 5 elders didn't know was that Du Lin also looked confused at this time. Because of the existence of the little spy Stussy, the news from Marine's side quickly spread to Du Lin's side. What? Du Lin also frowned. The Red Hair Pirates disappeared. He never sent anyone there in the first place, so of course it was impossible for the red hair pirates to be captured by his men. But the red hair pirates did not fall into the hands of the world government, they disappeared. Then there is only one answer. They encountered some kind of sudden situation. Either it had been killed by an accident, or it was forced to change course because of an accident. No matter which one Du Lin doesn't want to see. Damn it, those guys. Du Lin felt very troubled by this. Really, this could have all been over quickly, and he had to give him another kick in the middle. Decided to get rid of the whole red hair pirates after I run out. Look, keep looking, and find them. Although it is annoying, all I can do now is continue to search. You have to keep going with the plan, right? Since you can find them once, you can find them a second time. As long as the red hair pirates are not directly wiped out, as long as they are still sailing on the sea, then they absolutely cannot escape the brilliance of the sun. But, even though that is the case, this time the action is indeed a failure. No one knows where Hongfa and his subordinates went. All Du Lin can do is keep searching. Whether it is him or the world government, this time it can be regarded as returning without success. But another guy can say it's a rewarding experience. Drago and the red hair pirates went to an uninhabited desert island. Drago has already prepared a permanent pointer leading here, so he is not worried about getting lost in the sea. On the way to the island, Dorag told Hongfa his aspirations frankly. And why he would know about Roger's pirate ship being related to Uranus. Whether the world government continues to rule the world, or the Illuminati finally takes the world, what awaits the people of the world will never be a future of peace and tranquility. Drago was very solemn. So, Mr. Shanks, I need your help. Judging from Shanks' reaction when he mentioned Uranus earlier, Drago can be sure that he may know the whereabouts of Uranus. Are you here to seek the help of pirates? There was a bit of sarcasm in Beckman's tone. Your actions are somewhat inconsistent with the glorious and righteous purpose you said. Because, you are not a bunch of ordinary pirates, are you? Drago looked at the red hair meaningfully. The redhead was silent. Before the Roger pirates disbanded, Captain Roger once asked him to 4.0 ask him to inherit his will, go to the final island in the future, and shoulder the important task of changing the world at the right time. Of course, this task is not mandatory, and Captain Roger also said that he can give it up if he doesn't want to. But at least, he found a suitable successor. The world, now also needs his choice. Will the world ruled by the Illuminati really get worse? The redhead was not clear about this. But at least one thing he knew. The Illuminati, his enemy. Ignore the rest, Mr. Dorag, what are you going to do? The redhead asked seriously. Drago was overjoyed, some talk is a good thing. Wait, Dorag replied. Chapter 36. Hit the right way. Tangled I am. Wait, the redhead was not very satisfied with Drago's answer, his brows were slightly frowned. Mr. Drago, I don't quite understand what you mean. 11. Yeah, wouldn't it be good to directly detonate their conflicts, let them fight and reap the benefits? Usopp was also a little puzzled. Drago then explained, it's the ideal situation for both sides to lose. But if the two sides really go to war, the final result may be something we don't want to see. Don't forget that each of them holds a destructive weapon in their hands. Once one side loses, the other side will certainly suffer heavy losses, but I'm afraid they will take advantage of the situation to seize the opponent's weapon. Having said that, it was already very clear, and the expressions of everyone in Red Hair Pirates could not help but change slightly. We're not ready yet, Drago said seriously, we still need more time. But, I can't wait any longer. The red hair looked at Dorag, and said with 20 very seriously. Drago was taken aback for a moment. Then the red hair said to himself, I understand what you mean, Mr. Dorag, it is indeed as you said, that may be a better way to deal with it. But I can't do that. The young man with red hair raised his head, looked at Drago and said seriously, the seniors of the Roger Pirates are now being threatened by the Illuminati, and I can't just sit idly by. Drago opened and closed his mouth twice, but he still didn't say anything after all. Just as the red hair can understand him, he can also understand the red hair's feelings. The young man in front of me sailed with the Roger Pirates when he was a baby. All the seniors on the ship are like elders to him. At this time, the lives of the elders are being threatened by the Illuminati, how can he just sit idly by? Drago could not speak words of dissuasion. He can only be silent. Mr. Dorag, since you can even get the confidential information inside the government, then it means that you have someone inside the government. The redhead looked at Drago seriously, I need your help. Drago remained silent. If this is the case, his plan will usher in a subversive change. But he knew that it was impossible for him to persuade Red Hair to give up his elders. Moreover, since everyone in the Roger Pirates knows the whereabouts of the Sun God, the world government may not catch another remnant of the Roger Pirates. At this point, it seems pointless to try to keep the redhead a secret. Damn it, the originally designated plan has not had time to start, and the finale is already coming. In this case, let them fight. Beckman suddenly said at this time, it's just that it's too unfair that only the world government has obtained the information. Oh, Drago's eyes lit up instantly, that's right. If this is the case, then let both of them make it clear that the chariots and horses are going to fight. In this case, the intensity of the battle may be higher. In this way, the losses of both parties will at least become greater, and it will be more convenient for them to fish in troubled waters. Then the plan has been set. Reveal the location of the Sun God's lair to the world government so they can launch a raid. At the same time, when the government launches a surprise attack, warn the Illuminati to let them know that the enemy's attack is coming soon. Give them time to prepare, but not too much. In this way, both of them will be able to gather their strength and have a good fight. Both Red Hair and Dorag are quite satisfied with this plan. The Red Hair is of course because, since the location has been exposed, and it will be attacked by the world government, then Illuminati probably doesn't have much energy to hunt down them, the remnants of the Roger pirates. What Drago is satisfied with is that there is no other better choice, and this is the only way to go now. It's just that none of them knew that the Sun God's attitude was slightly different from what they had imagined. Anyway, let's get started. When making this decision, Hongfa and Dorag both felt an invisible pressure. This is a matter of course. When their actions are carried out smoothly, after the earth-shattering battle 800 years ago, the war that may determine world hegemony will start soon. The whole world will usher in great chaos because of them. Drago believes that the war between the world government and the Illuminati will be a protracted and fierce battle. It may be difficult to tell the winner from the beginning. Or it should be said that even if they are about to decide the winner, he will make it difficult to distinguish the winner. Then in this long war, this is their chance. So, at the moment when Du Lin thought his plan had failed, his plan started to work again inexplicably. The Red Hair pirates began preparing to deliver a message to the world government. As for how to deliver the message, this is a very simple matter. Not through Dorag's old father, the marine hero. After all, that would be too easy to expose, and Turog is not a fool. Dorag suggested that the Redhead used a simpler method. The pirate ship of Red Hair pirates drove directly into a marine base. While the Marines were stunned, the Redhead rushed directly to the base chief's office and took the unfortunate Colonel Marine hostage. He then offered to speak to naval headquarters. This 270 request was quickly passed. So, the Redhead got in touch with Marshal Hay Fafa through the phone bug. But at the same moment, the 5 elders who learned the news immediately monitored the call through wiretapping. Redhead Shanks, you have the audacity to attack Marine base. Marshal Zephyr made a head start, wishing to bring some psychological experience to the Redhead first. It's just meaningless, the Redhead said bluntly, forget about the extra nonsense. I know you are looking for me, and I know that the Illuminati is also looking for me. I know your purpose very well, so I just said it directly. The secret of Du Lin, that is, the guy you call the god of the sun, the secret that you don't want you to know is that his lair is in Sky Island. Zephyr on the other end of the phone froze. The 5 elders far above a certain sky were also stunned. The shock, or the surprise came a little too fast. It is Sky Island on the White Sea 10,000 meters above Guy Island. Believe it or not, but this is the secret we know. Without even waiting for Zephyr to make an inquiry, and even less waiting for the 5 elders to make any moves, the Redhead hung up the phone directly. Then the Red Hair pirates walked away and disappeared into the sea. However, the 5 elders and even I am are caught in a tangle. Chapter 337. Unexpected situation. I am was indeed caught in a huge tangle. Confirming that the B********************* D, oh, now knows he's the lair of the dude called Du Lin, was his most pressing target all along. But now he found that he was not as happy as he imagined. That guy has mastered the ability to move in space, and it is extremely difficult to kill him head on. I am has always been very confident in his own strength, but unfortunately, he has not mastered the power to block the space. The previous battle on Shuixian Qingdao reminded I am that even if it was a sudden attack, that guy still had the power to react and then dodge. Although his old lair has been confirmed now, if the sneak attack fails, it will not be so easy to catch that guy's feet. You can't attack directly. I am made a decision, look and keep looking until you find the ability to restrain that guy's space movement before launching an attack. At the same time, accumulate strength, and try to solve him once and for all. Yes, the 5 elders bow their heads and promise. As expected of Lord I am, you are indeed cautious. That's right, to face such a guy, you have to put up 120,000 points of energy. Also, the search for the remnants of the Roger pirates cannot be stopped. I am thought for a while, and then issued a second command, especially the Red Hair pirates. Uranus may indeed have not fallen into the hands of that guy, although it is impossible to be sure, but this opportunity cannot be let go. Yes, the 5 elders couldn't agree more. So, when Du Lin originally thought that his seamless plan had failed, the relationship suddenly took a turn for the better. But after this turning point, another turning point followed. God's Island, Du Lin received a report from Stussy. The Red Hair pirates broke into the marine base and then contacted the marine marshal. Such a big news cannot be concealed. Stussy understood the whole picture of the matter at the first time, and then hurriedly reported the news to her most respected god. Very good. Du Lin is satisfied. Although I don't know what the red-haired guy went through, but looking at it now, his goal has indeed been achieved. Although there were some twists and turns in the plan, everything was still moving forward according to his plan. In this case, the government already knows where their lair is, and they can launch a surprise attack here at any time. In other words, the decisive battle should not be too far away. Just one question, how did Redhead know he was being hunted? After all, the Red Hair pirates are not a large-scale pirate group like the Charlotte family or the Beasts pirates. They only have one ship and no intelligence channels at all. How did he know about that, then changed his course midway, and finally took the initiative to contact Marine? It seems that there are still people who secretly want to fish in troubled waters. Du Lin smiled meaningfully. But it doesn't matter, as long as the world government is cleaned up, the rest of the world is just a bunch of chickens and dogs. Then all you have to do is wait. It shouldn't be too long. Shouldn't be too long. It shouldn't be too long. 2 months have passed in a flash, and the world government is still standing still. Du Lin was a little confused. What's the situation? What's up with that guy I am? You already know your lair, why don't you stand still? Why don't you hurry up and bring over his ultimate weapon, and condescendingly hit him with a heavy cannon? Could it be that Ming Ming hadn't fought against him before, but he was already frightened by himself? No, judging from Joey Boy's message, I am is not such a cowardly guy. What is he waiting for? When Du Lin was astonished, the other group of people also fell into astonishment. Red hair pirates have been hiding with Dorag on an uninhabited desert island for some time. It's not that Drago doesn't want to take them back to his lair, it's just that the red hair is still somewhat wary of him after all. Both are waiting for the biggest chaos to come. They are all waiting for that earth-shattering war to happen. But, business as usual. The sea is still eerily silent, and the world government and the Illuminati remain calm, with no intention of going to war at all. What's going on? The redhead was deeply confused. Could it be that the world government doesn't believe the information I gave? I will. Drago was also confused, and immediately launched his intelligence capabilities to understand what the government was doing recently. It didn't take too long. After all, Vice Admiral Garp, the source of Dorag's information, is indeed in a high position within the world government. Then, Drago was taken aback. The government had no intention of going to war at all, and didn't even move to gather troops. If there is any action to be taken, the hunt for the remnants of the Roger pirates has not stopped. The red hair pirates were in deep consternation. What's the situation? You already know the lair of that group, but you still don't move. Usopp grabbed his hair with both hands, and messed up the neatly combed dreadlocks. What's the situation now? Is the world government so disdainful of that information? Perhaps they are afraid. Beckman said softly, I'm afraid that I won't be able to defeat my opponent, so I'm going to wait until the time is right to do it. I'm afraid that's it. Drago let out a long sigh. How much pressure did those people bring to the government? This is the first time that the government has been so hesitant in the world that has ruled the world for 800 years. Then we will be in trouble. Jows. Laji Lu smiled wryly, the world government is still hunting us down. The Illuminati don't know anything, and they won't stop hunting Roger pirates. So why is the government unwilling to give up the hunt? Usopp yelled, we just did them such a favor. Probably because. Drago looked at the redhead, they know that Uranus is probably in the hands of the remnants of the Roger pirates. The redhead was silent. The situation is really bad now. On Du Lin's side, he finally figured out what the world government is doing now through the undercover agent Ms. Stussy in the center. Still capturing the remnants of the Roger pirates. Is it because they suspect that Uranus is in their hands? Then, what about the ability to search for devil fruits of various space systems? Could it be, are you trying to block me? Chapter 338 Help I Am. Redhead Action. No matter how you think about it, the government spent a lot of manpower and material resources to search for devil fruit of various space systems, and it was all for themselves. Du Lin quickly made such a judgment. After all, it can't be Mr. Im's whim, and he is going to set up a space-type demon fruit power troop, right? It seemed that he had put too much pressure on him. The ability to move in space is indeed very difficult, and it is normal for Lord Im to feel great pressure because of this. He was afraid that he would not be able to destroy himself once, so after he escaped, it would be almost impossible for him to have a second chance like this. So he was going to wait until he was completely sure before doing anything. This is very understandable, but understanding is one thing, and what is actually in your mind is another. Du Lin originally thought that this time he could finally solve all the troubles at once, but who knew that the ***************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************œ easy to be attacked by surprise, and there will never be any difficulties. Du Lin really wanted to say this to Im, but he didn't have the chance. In any case, the current situation is that it is impossible to end the 610-long confrontation in one go, and the ghost knows when that guy Im will be ready to go. After all, Du Lin feels that there are not many abilities in this world that can restrain his teleportation. It's not the Hokage or Shinigami world next door, there is something called a barrier. I am trying to find the devil fruit that restrains him like he is cramming, when will there be a result? Annoying. That's what's very annoying. The seamless plan goes awry. Du Lin also felt very helpless about this. Now I can only try to remedy it. Go help that guy Im. Du Lin called Mahad and gave him instructions, use our power to help Im find his favorite devil fruit, or various strange items. 1. Du Lin felt that he was the most considerate opponent in the history of this world. How could someone be so selfless, even helping his enemies find something to deal with him? Du Lin even wants to call himself a great saint. Yes. Mahad never had any doubts about Du Lin's orders, and immediately went down to prepare for action. However, while searching for all kinds of rare treasures that can restrain his abilities, Du Lin did not relax his hunt for the Roger pirates. Although he doesn't have much obsession with Uranus anymore, but Wang Lin feels that he has to do a full set of acting. Of course, the government can't let the government know that they already know that they know about their hometown. Therefore, in the next few days, the life of the remnants of Roger's pirate ship may not be easy. On the other side, the red hair pirates and Drago's side. They have sailed away from the deserted island and embarked on a new voyage. Neither the world government nor the Illuminati will ever let you former members of the Roger Pirates go. Standing at the bow of the boat, Drago said to the red-haired man standing beside him, "This matter is something we cannot change now." Of course, it cannot be changed. If they want to change this kind of pursuit, then I am afraid they will have to jump out and formally become enemies with the two major forces. But that is impossible. For now, even if they are fishing in troubled waters in the dark, they are walking on thin ice. If you really want to jump out and confront the two major forces head-on, you will be crushed to pieces in an instant. Whether it is the Illuminati or the world government, they are far from being able to compete. The only thing we can do to prevent this from happening is. Drago paused. The redhead answered, "Let's gather all the former partners first, Sif." The members of the Roger Pirates had already gone their separate ways and scattered in every corner of the sea when the pirates were disbanded. They definitely don't know it now, but they have been targeted by the two most terrifying groups in the world. This is too dangerous. Judging from the power of the Illuminati and the world government, as long as they want to find it, it is completely meaningless to hide blindly. After all, members of the Roger Pirates are all unusually famous in this world, and each of them is by no means unknown. No matter how hard they try to hide their whereabouts, they will eventually reveal some lies. After all, it is impossible for them to find a deserted island to live in seclusion, right? As long as they live in human society, as long as they can get along with outsiders, then they will absolutely not be able to hide themselves perfectly. With the power of the world government and the Illuminati, it will only be a matter of time before they are sorted out. And that's something redheads definitely don't want to see. So now he can only find all the former senior partners and take them out of this crisis together. Fortunately, when the pirates disbanded, everyone said what they wanted to do next. The red hair felt deeply grateful for this. "I thought about going to visit them sooner or later when I went to sea, so everyone's whereabouts were clearly remembered." Drago nodded slightly. This is certainly a good thing. Although Roger is no longer there, the former Roger Pirates are gathering, and of course they will still be a terrifying force. If you can win them over to become your allies, that would be the best thing. With the power I already have, there is a high probability that Marine will stand on my side, plus the remnants of the Roger Pirates. If Uranus is in his hands again, then he might not have the power to fight those two forces. Who should I go to first? Drago looked at the redhead. I was supposed to go to Mr. Rayleigh first. The red hair frowned. He should be in the Sabayati archipelago, but I didn't find him when I went there before. I don't know where he went. It is said that Du Lin's guy went to Sabayati archipelago back then. I didn't pay much attention to it before, but now that I think about it, maybe. The redhead's expression turned a little sad. Drago pursed his lips, not knowing how to comfort him for a while. Let's go to Uncle Jabba first. The redhead glanced at Drago. I need to discuss with him about Uranus. Drago was overjoyed. Chapter 339 Roger Pirates Reunited. Of course Du Lin didn't know what Hongfa and Dorag were doing. But in fact, even if he knew about it, he might not care too much about it. It is a good thing that such inexplicable cats and dogs gather together. After all, in this way, all of them can be cleaned up in one go. If they are still scattered in the sea, it will be very troublesome to go public. The redhead is indeed not bragging. When the Roger Pirates disbanded, he really tried hard to record what each senior said. What they wanted to do after retirement would be where they would go. On an island in New World, Redhair and Dorag found a senior member of the Roger Pirates. Ha 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 ha, Shanks. I saw your news in the newspapers a lot before, and now you are a pirate who can stand on your own. The man hugged Shanks enthusiastically and laughed. The man has long black hair, and his face is not considered young anymore. There is a pair of small sunglasses on the bridge of his nose, which looks cool. Being hugged by a man, Shanks couldn't help showing a gentle smile. Long time no see, Mr. Jabba. Drago looked at the man in front of him. The third person of the Roger Pirates, the copper in the gold, silver and copper trio, Copper Jabba. This is the first time I have seen a legendary pirate in the sea without a doubt. So, Shanks. Jabba let go of Shanks in his arms, the smile on his face faded slightly, and he asked seriously, did something happen? The kid in front of him was the one he'd watched grow up, the one he'd raised with Rayleigh and Roger from infancy. Although Shanks had a smile on his face, there was a lingering depression between his brows. Something must have happened to him. Mr. Jabba. The redhead took a deep breath, and then he said everything he had known all this time. So the brows of the third in command of the Roger Pirates also frowned. Did such a thing happen? Jabba pushed the dark glasses from the bridge of his nose to his forehead. His eyes were full of concern. Maybe something happened to that guy Rayleigh. It is said that on the day Du Lin went to the Sabayati archipelago, there was a battle on the island. The redhead's voice was quite low, but I didn't think at the time that he was full of malice towards us. Quote. Jabba nodded lightly. We are all too careless. As early as when the Illuminati came to the stage to confront the world government, we should have realized that we, who know where their base camp is, will of course be punished by them. Keep an eye on it. Back then Roger said that that kid would become a great guy, and now his achievements have even completely exceeded Roger's imagination. Senior Jabba, now is not the time to sigh. Usopp was a little anxious and couldn't help but say, let's talk about what to do next. Shanks, you made the right decision. Jabba's voice sank. He raised his hand and patted Shanks on the shoulder. Since we've all been targeted, of course we should regroup to guard against danger. And a fierce light flashed in his eyes. We, the Roger Pirates, have always been the only ones who bully others. When will it be others' turn to bully us? Of course the matter this time should be like that kid Lin, please seek justice. Drago on the side was overjoyed. If this is the case, the plan to win over the Roger Pirates is already half completed. I see. The redhead nodded slightly, but it's not going to be easy. Drago suddenly said, the self-proclaimed god Lin and his subordinates have extraordinary power, even the world government is afraid of it. So, who are you? Jabba looked at Drago in surprise. Dorag, Monkey DF Dorag. Dorag introduced himself seriously. Monkey, the only remaining one of the gold, silver and copper couldn't help being stunned at this moment, you belong to that guy Garp. That B asterisk 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 D is also an old acquaintance. Drago nodded slightly. Whether it is the world government or the Illuminati, the power they possess is definitely beyond our reach at this time. So I think in order to defeat them, we should unite all the forces that can be united. You boy don't want to say. Jabba's face was a little stiff, and his tone was full of disbelief. It even includes Marine, right? Zero looking for flowers. Dorag nodded. This is really something I never thought of. Jabba scratched his forehead. In the Valley of the Gods, although there was a short-term alliance, but that was forced and helpless, so they actually want to fight side by side. Drago tried his best to suppress the joy in his heart, and he tried to look calm, but we don't have too many choices, do we? That's right. Jabba nodded heavily. Fraternity and revenge must gather a force of blood. It is precisely because we know the strength of the opponent that we need to gather strength. Come on, Shanks. Jabba said loudly, although it was said at the time that our era is over, but now that we are forced to come out of the rivers and lakes again, then let's make a big fuss. Zero. Oh, Shanks responded loudly. As Uncle Jabba said, since there is no other way now, then, just resist. Let that guy Lin have a good look at our backbone. The red-haired hand had already clenched the hilt of the sword at his waist. Jabba is a vigorous man. He quickly returns to his secluded home, packs his luggage, boards the boat with the red-haired Dorag, and sails away quickly through the wind and waves. Go get the old guys back first. Jabba stood at the bow, and then, Shanks. He said loudly without turning his head, Roger did entrust Uranus's egg to you, right? When Dorag heard this, he couldn't help pricking up his ears, for fear that he might miss a word. Yes. Shanks nodded slightly. Captain Roger placed Uranus's eggs on an island and asked me to take care of them from time to time. He paused. It has already hatched, and it grows very quickly. Of course. Jabba said, Uranus will inherit the power of his ancestors, basically there is no such thing as growing up. Next we may have to rely on his strength. I see. The redhead nodded slightly. I have a good relationship with Uranus. That's good. Jabba nodded in satisfaction. Drago was also very happy. Chapter 341 The Island of Fog. Nebrundia. The world fell into an eerie calm. The expansion of the Illuminati has stopped, and they are now silently digesting the territory they just captured. The priests went out everywhere, preaching the doctrine of believing in God to the residents of the countries that had just been occupied, so that everyone could bathe in the brilliance of the sun. Everyone knows that there should be 2 or 3 years of quietness in the future. After all, it was like this in the past. When the light society expands, it is vigorous and unstoppable, but when they quiet down, they are silent and will not make trouble. But what people on the sea know better is that such silence will only be short-lived. The Illuminati will eventually expand again, and their goal has always been the entire world. They have already occupied half of the world, so the next time they take another, 663, step toward the sea, it may be the moment when the whole world is in their pocket. By that time, an earth-shattering battle is absolutely inevitable. Although the world government has maintained an appeasement attitude in the past few years, no matter what the Illuminati will do, they will ignore it. Even the old nest is gone now, I don't know where to hide. But when the whole world is about to fall into the hands of the Illuminati and be ruled by the god of the sun, the world government will never stand still, and the final battle will still start. By that time, the whole world will probably be covered by flames of war, and the people in the world can do nothing about it, and all they can do is wait for the world's choice. This is absolutely unstoppable, something that will definitely come. But the people at sea did not realize that the war was only a short distance away. If it wasn't for that Master Yim who was really cautious enough to be willing to take action only when he had full confidence, perhaps the battle to determine world hegemony would have already been fought. After all, although it is said to be a war that will affect the entire world, in fact it is only the confrontation between the big bosses of the two sides that determines the outcome of the war. All the confrontations in other parts of the world are nothing compared to this. And this matter is also where the leaders of both sides feel troubled at this time. Yim is looking for full assurance, and Lin is hoping that Yim will have full assurance earlier. Both the world government and the Illuminati began to search the sea, searching for the ability to restrain Lin's ability to move in space. However, even though the two strongest forces in the world cooperated tacitly and joined hands to start searching, there were still very few results. Devil fruit is really hard to find. Although I have found 1 or 2 related types of devil fruit, they are basically useless. One thing to say, Lin felt that he should be more disappointed than I am. Who can understand this feeling? Time continues to move forward like this, and the sea circle calendar has arrived in 1505. During this year, Yinhai was generally calm. If there were any disturbances, it would probably be that the marine hunt initiated by the Illuminati was quite effective. Many high-ranking officials of the Marine Rear Admiral Vice Admiral level have been hunted down. Many seamen who realized that the era of great piracy was over and that the days of piracy were on the wane simply switched careers and became marine hunters. They decided to finally make a good fortune, and then they retired and quit. Marine was very annoyed by this, but there was nothing he could do. The door appears, and then a decisive battle begins. Naval headquarters is very clear that there is a huge gap in combat power between them and the Illuminati at this time. The strength of the three admirals has not yet reached their peak, and there is still a big gap compared with the Knights of God. Not to mention the invincible God. Forbearance. Now I can only forbear. Let's wait until the strength develops to a sufficient level. At least wait until the three admirals have the real strength to match this title. Marine simply gathered all the senior officers, and even disbanded the base of the G series. Anyway, there are fewer and fewer pirates in the sea now, and the task of protecting the people is no longer so severe. The Marines who used to sail upright on the sea to uphold justice and protect the world have now even half turned underground. 10 years ago, no, even just 5 years ago, who would have thought of such a thing? But other than that, overall, the world is still peaceful. Until one day, the bored Du Lin heard a message from Mahad. God, in New World we found an island. His Excellency God Tier's attitude is respectful. That island is a bit special. I think it might be helpful to your plan. Special. Du Lin has some interest, especially where. The name of that island is Nebrundia, and the nearby residents call it the Island of Fog, because at that time the island would be covered with heavy fog all the year round. Mahad continued, it was a deserted island, and there were very few plants on the island, only some towering stone forests. Island of Fog. Du Lin raised his eyebrows, as if he had heard it. The most special thing about this island is that there is a special plant living on it. Plant. Du Lin blinked. What kind of plant? It's a vine. Mahad stretched out his hands, holding a bundle of green vegetables in his hands. Oh, Du Lin was a little surprised. Because the vine in Mahad's hand has started to squirm like a snake, and is quickly leaping towards Du Lin. But before he could get close to Du Lin, he was immediately grabbed by Mahad. This special vine can sense demon fruit power and initiate an attack. 5.8 Mahad said, and this kind of vine also has properties similar to sea stone, all entangled abilities will be restricted. Is that so? Du Lin nodded slightly, a little bit interested, he already remembered where he heard the name. There was a special episode of One Piece animation in the previous life, and the place where it happened was this Island of Fog. The opponent that Straw Hat Boy faced was a Marine Vice Admiral named Kong Ming. Du Lin was thoughtful, should it be useful? Of course, it does not mean that it is of some use to him, but that it should be of some use to the world government. Then let the world government find the island. Du Lin said. Alas, I am really worried about that guy I am. Chapter 342 Im's determination. Since Du Lin already wanted the world government to discover that island, of course the world government soon found the island named Nebrandia. As a matter of course, this island immediately attracted the attention of the world government, and the special vines living on that island were quickly sent to Im. Im, still hiding his body in the mysterious black robe, quietly watched the snake-like wriggling in front of him, and wanted to pounce on him, but was immediately stopped by the 5 elders, so he entangled himself with the 5 elders' vines. Well, the bodies of the 5 elders who were entangled by the vines went limp, and they only had time to let out a muffled groan before they slumped and sat on the ground. It does have the same ability as Seastone, which can restrain demon fruit power. Restricted by the vines wrapped around their bodies, the 5 elders didn't panic because of it, on the contrary they were a little happy. Not only can't activate the ability, but 22's physical strength seems to have been taken away, and now the body feels very weak, and it becomes very difficult to move. It's a nice plant. Im nodded slightly, and the black robe covering his body also shook gently, it should be suitable for stretching out to deal with ability users. However, it may not be so easy to use against Du Lin. Im shook his head slightly again. Even the bombardment of the ultimate weapon is difficult to be effective against that guy. Do you still expect these slow-moving vines to restrain that guy Du Lin? This is just like a dream come true. Not to mention dealing with guys who have been with him for many years, even if he wants to deal with the knights of the gods who are kneeling under him, I am afraid it will be as difficult as heaven. If it's just vines, that's certainly not enough. Among the 5 elders, a man in a white robe, always holding a knife, and a pair of glasses on the bridge of his nose spoke. His name is Izan Baron V. Nasho Langson, the Valkyrie of finance among the 5 elders. But it might as well be a possibility. If the vine restraining ability can extract the factors that support it to have this ability and use it, then maybe it can play an unexpected role in conjunction with the space-type devil fruit we found. Im pondered for a moment. Indeed, if you can't limit that guy's ability, then you can definitely try to limit him. As long as you can get close to him through the space ability, then there is hope to suppress his ability. Pulling him into an environment where he can't use his abilities has proven to be quite difficult in the world. Then simply change your thinking and directly suppress this guy's ability. The fruit of the door. Another 5 elders began. I think this devil fruit is our hope. Even a guy as strong as Du Lin is absolutely impossible to realize the lurkers lurking in the different space. Using this ability, we have the basis to get close to that guy without being discovered by him. M nodded slightly again, and in a split second, put a collar on that guy. Another 5 elders spoke, and his tone was filled with surprise. No. That's too risky. We can even develop a special medicine from this plant. Secretly infiltrate through the door fruit's ability, and down on that guy's food master. That's a good idea. Now even Im's voice couldn't help but have some joy. This is by no means an impossible plan. It can even be said that the success rate of the plan is quite high. With this kind of vine, it would not be difficult to develop a drug that can restrain the ability of the ability user Devil Fruit. And the existence of the door fruit really gave them the possibility to sneak into Du Lin's old guy silently. Then as long as Du Lin takes that kind of medicine, as long as he loses his ability, the outcome will of course be decided directly. Even, you can simply add poison. Although the monsters in the sea are incredibly strong, and almost no poison can be effective, but what if? Who can extract usable medicine from the vine? M asked. The five elders looked around at each other, and answered in unison, Guy Sakurang. After Vegapunk was taken away by the Illuminati, this guy was the only top scientist in the government. Very good. IM nodded lightly, then give him this task and let him get some medicine that can be put into use in the shortest possible time. Yes. The five elders nodded in unison. The excitement and joy on their faces were hard to hide. After searching for so long, I finally found the hope of breaking the game. As long as the plan can be carried out smoothly, that B************ D Du Lin who has troubled them for so many years will be destroyed with a snap of his fingers, and the world will finally return to the order dominated by their world government. How can the five elders not be excited? How can they not be happy? What we have to do now is to use these plants to research the medicine in the shortest possible time. Therefore, the headquarters of the Marine Science Force is located in a large base under a certain uninhabited island. Guy Sarah Current, huh? The man named Geisa looked impatiently at the glamorous woman swaggering in front of him. The 180 women in front of me are indeed very beautiful. Exquisite and beautiful face, soft short blonde hair, paired with a ladylike lazy and charming temperament, there should be very few men in the world who can remain indifferent after seeing him. But it just so happens that Guy Saw is such a man. Although he is an evil scientist in a general sense, he has never rejected or been enthusiastic about human experiments. However, he did devote all his energy to science and was not very interested in other things. The woman in front of him had no meaning at all to him. And the woman in front of him, a high-ranking official from the CPO, Stussy smiled, and she raised the transfer order in her hand. Congratulations, Dr. Guy Saw, five elders is going to recruit you to conduct a certain experiment. Experiment. Guy was taken aback, five elders. Then Jonin couldn't help but smirk with ecstasy on his face. I don't know what experiment five elders wants him to do, but it's certainly a good thing for him. Being able to get the attention of five elders means more experimental funds and higher authority. Sure. Guy smiled all over his face. Very good. Stussy is also smiling broadly. Chapter 343 Marine's Decision. Of course Du Lin knew about the brand new action of world government right away. Guy Sakurang. Yes, God. During the empty phone call, Stussy reported to him respectfully, five elders asked CP0 to take that guy to Nebrandia and set up a laboratory for some kind of experiment. As that's so. When Du Lin heard the news, his smile brightened instantly. This is really very interesting. It looks like the gift I gave him, he likes it very much, I am that guy. No, it has already started to act immediately. Do you know what kind of experiment it is? Du Lin asked. Sorry, God, only the five elders and Guy Sabine know about the experiment. Stussy said, I've also made insinuations, but that guy Geisa should have been told by the five elders to be very vigilant and never leak the contents of the experiment. But I think, since it was chosen in Nebrandia, the content of the experiment must have something to do with that kind of vine. The island and the vines were made known to the world government through Stussy. So Stussy can easily draw this conclusion. Probably want to make some kind of medicine or weapon to restrain ability users. Du Lin smiled. The reaction was quick. After realizing the existence of this vine, I was ready to take action immediately. God, what should I do? Stussy asked. Need I add to Guy's experiment? No need, just let him do it. Du Lin chuckled. It's better to say that I'm eager to use the guy's research to produce results sooner. So what if drugs or weapons are developed for those with abilities? The great sun god is not restrained by these things at all. It is easy to swim in the sea and even wear jewelry made by sea stone. Even if the government really made something like that, what use would it be to itself? Du Lin just dismissed it. As he said, he wished that Guy would produce results sooner, and then IM would come over and have S**X with him. Yes, I understand, then I will still pay attention to this side. Once there is any new progress, I will notify you as soon as possible. Stussy respectfully ended the call with Du Lin. The smile on Du Lin's face did not diminish. In this case, the final decisive battle should be very close. This guy IM probably wants to create a drug that can restrain the ability user, and then use the ability of the door fruit to drug himself quietly, right? Or in other words, what is produced is a weapon, and it can also be quietly transported to your side. This is of course a very good idea, and I have to say that the success rate is quite high. If it wasn't for him knowing everything from the beginning, and actively pushing him to develop in this direction. Next, just wait silently. Du Lin thought so. Very coincidentally, his and Im's thoughts were synchronized again at this moment. IM also feels that now he just needs to wait quietly, waiting for the day when Guy's research will produce results. Both of them were waiting, but someone was not. Somewhere on the Grand Line, on an island called Baltigo. This is a barren island, and the island is just a piece of white land, so people who pass by here occasionally call this island the Island of White Jade. But this island is just deserted, not really uninhabited. In fact, a group of people came to this island several years ago and settled here. They took this uninhabited and almost unpopulated island as their base. And today, there are guests here. It was not a very special sea ship, not too big, and it didn't fly any flags. It looked like a merchant ship that is quite common in the sea today. But when the ship docked in Baldigo, the person who got off the deck was by no means an ordinary businessman. You are welcome, Marshal Zephyr. Standing on the shore, Drago watched the man who came from afar disembark, a happy smile appeared on his face, and he hurried forward to welcome him. If people from the sea saw this scene, they would probably be dumbfounded. Because the one who came all the way by boat at this time is the naval headquarters Marshal Black Arm Zephyr. Zephyr looked at the man in front of him with complicated eyes. He was still shaken after all. World government's appeasement policy for the past 2 years has accumulated the dissatisfaction in his heart to the limit. And Lord I Am might not really exist. Zephyr finally decided to do something. In this day and age, the world really needs Marines to do something. The world is waiting for their choice. Please, Marshal Zephyr, and they are waiting for you. Dorag led the way enthusiastically. Zephyr followed with a sigh. It is precisely because he knows who is waiting for him now that he sighs in his heart. In the depths of this white soil island, there is a row of unremarkable bungalows. There are several figures outside the bungalow, waiting anxiously. They were a man with heavy makeup, a tall and strong man wearing a bear ear hat, and 4 men and women in strange clothes, including 10 people. These are Dorag's partners, and they are also the team he pulled up at the beginning. Finally come. The man with heavy makeup looked at Zephyr who was walking with Drago and couldn't help cheering excitedly. Drago nodded towards them, then went straight. Noah opened the door in front of him, and walked in with Zephyr. Yo, isn't this Zephyr? It's been a while. Zephyr just walked in the door when he heard an annoying sound. He locked his eyes on the guy in an instant. Tisk, Jabba, are you still alive? Zephyr folded his arms around his chest and snorted coldly. He looked around, and there were some familiar old faces in the room. I didn't expect to see you guys gather together one day. The Roger pirates are here again. Ha 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 ha, I didn't expect to be able to cooperate with you one day. Jabba laughed loudly. This is the so-called impermanence of the world. Zephyr was silent for a while, then he shook his head, and then said seriously, then tell me about it, what did you see in the last island? Chapter 344, The Fruits of Guy. That is the news we received on the last isle. Jabba's expression was rather emotional. Actually, it's no different from what Dulin announced, he just concealed some information. 11. Even more emotional than he was Zephyr. After all, the news Dulin released on the news is still concealed. Only now did Jabba tell him all the historical truths that happened 800 years ago from the beginning to the end. From the beginning to the end, the truth of all the history was finally placed in front of Zephyr at this time. It is no longer possible to doubt that this is false. Jabba solves all the puzzles of Zephyr. The origin of D. The production of ancient weapon. Im's detailed life experience. The origin of the 20 kings. There is no way to deceive myself anymore, all this is false. Zephyr finally just let out a long sigh. Although he had already made preparations, when he realized that for 800 years, Marine's dedication to justice was nothing more than a deceit, he felt a little desolate in his heart. World government has never belonged to the world, just like the vacant void throne has always had its owner. World government has never been free, let alone democratic. The king named I Am has ruled this reality for a full 800 years. So, now is the time to make a change. After a short sigh, Zephyr's eyes became sharper, and he declared to everyone in front of him seriously. Great. Jabba clapped his hands happily, it should have been done a long time ago. That's right, this world has been on a wrong path since 800 years ago, and it's time for a change. Drago also said seriously, it's just that there is one more guy who wants to lead the world astray, so now we are the only ones who can change the world. His heart was full of excitement. If Marine can actually join their ranks, then their power will expand arrogance like never before. It should be said that it is only inferior to seeing the dragon soaring through the 9 heavens. Then, please give me your advice next time. Jabba laughed. So, what's your next plan? Zephyr looked at Drago, then at Jabba. Wait, Dorag said solemnly, even with Marines joining, the power we have at this time is probably insufficient compared to those 2 groups CCEA. After all, both of them have destructive weapons in their hands. Moreover, I Am and Dulin's members of the Knights of the Gods have extraordinary power. Although I think we have the strength to fight them now, but I think the best strategy is to wait for now. After the 2 sides officially start a war, we will look for opportunities to make a move. Zephyr was silent for a while when he heard the words, and then nodded lightly. In order to prevent mistakes, it seems that this is the only way to go. So all they can choose now is to wait. But after the meeting, whether it was Dorag or Jabba Zephyr, everyone was smiling. Because when they unite, they will already be a force capable of challenging the world government and the Illuminati. They also have ancient weapons, they also have a lot of strong men, and they also have a lot of basic combat power. Already fully qualified to participate in this battle for world hegemony. And the more important thing is that neither the world government nor the Illuminati know of their existence. They can completely lie dormant quietly, and wait for the final battle between the world government and the Illuminati to start, and then come out to pick up the leaks when the fight is in full swing. Wait until they are both defeated, and then stand up and completely change the world. It has to be said that Dulin did not expect that Drago and Shanks actually rebuilt the Roger pirates. Even at this time, Uranus has been obtained, and Marine has been drawn over. There is no doubt that the strength of this group of people has reached an extraordinary level, and they are fully qualified to participate in this final battle. But maybe even if he knew about it, Dulin wouldn't care much about it. Don't ask. If you ask, the Sun God is already invincible. He is not even afraid of the ultimate weapon in Im's hands, so what is Uranus? Time is slowly passing by like this. See Circle Calendar 1505 has passed most of the year. But the world is still shrouded in silence. It's just that few people know that the opportunity to change everything has already appeared at this time. Located in a temporary research base in Nebrandia. Finished. With thick dark circles under his eyes and messy hair, Guy picked up a small test tube excitedly. There is some green liquid in the test tube, which looks quite clear. Guy took the test tube to the top of his head and looked up at the light. The light passed through the test tube and sprinkled green light on his face, illuminating the almost fanatical smile on his face. Whoa, Lousy is indeed a genius. He picked up the test tube and shook it a little, then raised his head and drank the solution in the test tube without hesitation. Well, it should be said that the effect is immediate. Guy's body flicked and his body became weak, and he sat down on the ground directly. He couldn't even hold the test tube in his hand anymore, and let the test tube fall to the side with a clang and shatter. Hey heck. It really worked. Guy Saw's body has become quite weak, but this doesn't stop him from laughing loudly. Devil Fruit's ability is completely suppressed, and his physical strength is also drained, just like wearing seastone handcuffs. He was muttering to himself, the next thing is to see how long the potion lasts. Facts have proved that the potion is quite long-lasting. It was not until the next day that Guy finally regained his physical strength after going to the toilet once, and gradually began to display his abilities. Perfect product. A true genius. Guy laughed in the lab alone. But it's not over yet. Gaisa applied for several ability users to come over, and after conducting many experiments in a row, he was finally convinced that the potion that 5 elders asked him to develop was indeed a success. Then he finally contacted the 5 elders and told them the news. Great. The 5 elders were ecstatic. You did a good job. You did a good job, Dr. Guy Saw. Chapter 345 IM finally started to act. Guy Saw was taken away soon. The person who took him away was the Knights of God commanded by that Figaland Geringer. No one is allowed to follow, and no one is needed to protect each other. The Knights of God personally dispatched and led Gaisa to leave Nebrandia Island. Dulin felt quite sorry about this. If he could go back with the Knights of God, he would undoubtedly be able to find the lair of the 5 elders in IM. Then there is no need to wait any longer, and they can be wiped out directly. But it's a pity that I don't have this opportunity. The little spy, Stussy, didn't even stay in Neblandia all the time, and was transferred away by the CPO not long after. When he got the news, Guy probably had already arrived at the lair of the 5 elders. But Dulin wasn't too disappointed. After all, everything was going according to his plan. I am going to get what he wants soon, and of course he's going to start doing it right away. So now it's just a matter of waiting a little longer. Somewhere in the world, Guy is still in extreme consternation. There was still amazement on his face. Is this the ultimate weapon created by the Burka people 800 years ago? What an exaggeration. Guy looked around excitedly, now that he was inside the ultimate weapon. Just seeing this thing for the first time already surprised him beyond his control. Although the subject he is good at is biology, his basic qualities as a scientist still make him deeply shocked by the terrifying technological content of this weapon. So we need to meet the 5 elders next. Guy looked at the man who led him forward, the commander-in-chief of the Knights of God, Street. Figaland Geringer. There was no reaction on Gellinger's face, just a plain look. He brought Guy to the center of the weapon, the deepest room. Welcome, King Bo. Guy was here to meet the 5 elders who warmly welcomed him. In addition, I also saw the existence who always hides his figure in the black robe, the legendary. Guy subconsciously called out the man's name. This guy actually exists, the king of the celestial dragons, the boss of the 5 elders, a monster who has ruled the world for 800 years. Bold. The faces of the 5 elders, who were still smiling just now, changed drastically, and one of them even yelled angrily, "How dare you call Lord I Am by his name?" Gaisa was directly pushed to the ground by Geringer. It wasn't until this moment that he realized what mistake he had made, and hurriedly apologized tremblingly. Hold on, I'm sorry, it's me who said what I said. Gaisa is a man who is quite knowledgeable about current affairs. In other words, what he is best at is bullying the weak and fearing the strong. When facing the weak, his attitude is the most arrogant. But when facing the strong, he is also the best at being a man with his tail between his legs, for fear that he will not sink into the dust. He was afraid now that he had angered the 5 elders and that he would be killed straight away. Don't worry about it, Guy. I am very bland. His existence can no longer be concealed, and Dulin and his lighting position and the world need to be cleaned again. So whether he was exposed or not is no longer an important issue. Show us the results of your research. Yes. Guy quickly took out the green reagents one by one from the suitcase he carried with him. This is the medicine I made from the special vines on Innerbrandia. Contains the power of the person with the ability to seal. Whether it is contact or internal use, it can play a role. Of course, if exposed to the outside world, the effect will be lost after evaporation. The best way is to take it. After the ability user takes the potion, the suppression they will suffer is no different from being exposed to high-purity sea stone. The duration of the medicine is about 1 day, and the metabolism of the human body can excrete the molecules contained in the medicine that restrain Devil Fruit's ability. 11. But it will take at least a day and a half to fully restore the original strength. Very good. After listening to Geis's introduction, I.M. nodded slightly, and anyone could hear the joy contained in his voice coming from under the black robe. Asking for flowers. Then, let's try it out. Yes. The 5 elders nodded humbly. I.M. looked at Geisa again. Dr. Geisa, if the final experiment proves that the potion in your hand has the effect you said, then I will never begrudge my reward. Yes. The smile on Guy's face could no longer be concealed, and the corners of his mouth almost reached his ears. This is the king of the world government, a guy whose status is even higher than 5 elders. The thick newspaper he said must not be thin, right? And so the final product inspection begins. The 5 elders have brought the celestial dragons and almost all the espers in their guard. 0. Only a sample with a large base can more truly reflect the true effect of the medicine. Then after nearly a week of intensive experiments, the final result made the 5 elders ecstatic. Exactly what the guy said. They hurriedly reported the good news to Lord I.M. Drinking the potion is equivalent to giving birth to the shackles of Seastone. All capable people can only be slaughtered. Great. Even a real monster like I.M., who has been well informed and has ruled the world for 800 years, couldn't help but clenched his fists at this moment. The pressure Du Lin brought to him was too great, even Yiboi who was 800 years ago could hardly compare with him. But fortunately, the turning point that can completely reverse the situation has now been grasped by him. Then, let's get started. Start the sun shooting plan. Since the opponent is the existence that claims to be the god of the sun, let them extinguish that glorious sun this time. The ultimate weapon floating in a certain corner of the world has already started to move, heading towards the god of the sun, the sea of clouds called the sanctuary of the sky. And at the same moment, the 5 elders summoned a certain man. The next most important task is for you. Use the power of the door fruit to sneak around Du Lin, and then make sure to feed the medicine into his mouth. However, before that, let's carefully investigate the situation over there. Chapter 346, Infiltrator. Moon is a celestial dragons. It is one of the 19 celestial dragons families that originally lived in Mariajoy, a direct descendant of the Marcus family. The MacArth family is not a simple clan of celestial dragons. Because at this time the patriarch of this family was named Marcus Mazishung. He also has another name called 5 elders, who is the environment Valkyrie who serves the Lord I.M. As a descendant of 5 elders, Mun's status among celestial dragons is naturally extraordinary. But he's not like the usual celestial dragons who can do whatever they want. The education he received since childhood was the most advanced elite education in the sea. Literature, history, mathematics, astronomy, physics, chemistry, biology, medicine, navigation. Kendo, Budo, spear, sushu. He doesn't even have time to do whatever he wants. 470 was a matter of course. When he grew up, he successfully joined the most elite organization of celestial dragons, the Knights of God. Became one of the knights who guarded the great IMM. Originally, he thought that his life would develop in such a logical way. In the future, he would ascend to the high position of the Knights of God, and then strive to compete with others to inherit the position of 5 elders. But the accident came so suddenly. The B************ D who called himself the sun god attacked Mariajoy twice. Moon lost many relatives in the first attack. The second attack completely destroyed the entire Mariajoy. Since then, celestial dragons can only be displaced, wandering around sitting on the national treasure of celestial dragons. Mun had long wanted to tear the B********** D who had tarnished the glory of the celestial dragons to pieces. And now the opportunity has finally come. When the Knights of the Gods selected the host of the Fruit of the Door, and selected the personnel who were crucial in the operation against the God of the Sun, Mu-En signed up without hesitation, and then successfully stood out. He ate the door fruit, and now he was ready to act. Mu-En felt a little pity. If an unusually huge door could be opened, a door that was big enough to fit the entire final weapon into the space, the final battle would be much easier. But it's a pity that this kind of thing can't be done. The ability of Devil Fruit has always been supported by the physical strength of the ability user himself, and Mun can't open such a huge door. So of course he can only enter the door by himself, sneaking into the territory of the Sun God first. After opening the air door, you can enter a different space that is isolated from the real world. There is no gravity in the different space to float, but there is air that can breathe. So as long as you bring enough food and water, you can survive in this space. In order to avoid being discovered, the weapon finally stopped thousands of kilometers away from the target, then Mu-En himself slowly approached the target through the air door. It should be emphasized that the door fruit can only open the air door leading to a different space, but it cannot shorten the distance between the two destinations. So this distance of thousands of kilometers, Mu-En can only swim slowly by himself bit by bit. This took him about 3 days. It should be said that fortunately there is air in the different space, and Moon can use moonwalk to travel. During these 3 days, quite a lot of them are used to eat and sleep to replenish physical strength, and then leave the different space to return to the real world, so as to confirm the direction of progress. But no matter what, after 3 days, Moon finally arrived at his destination. This is, the Night of God floated high above the sky, looking down on everything below. This statement is a bit weird. After all, at this time Mun is completely in another space that is isolated from the real space. There is no relationship between upper and lower with the real world at all. But in a different space, the real world can be seen, and the two sides are parallel, but they are very close to each other. So what appeared below Mun at this time was a magnificent sea of clouds. And in this sea of clouds, there are many islands. There are typical sky islands made of ordinary clouds, and there are real islands made of mud rocks and covered with dense forests that should only exist in the Qinghai Sea. Back then, the islands captured by the Golden Lion are all here now, right? Moon took a general look at these islands and confirmed their origins. But none of these places matter. The real point is that B************** D Du-Lin. It is really not difficult to find Du-Lin. All the islands are distributed in a circle with another island as the center. Moreover, at noon every day, all residents will solemnly pray in a certain direction. It's really hard to find. Mu-En came to this island called God's Island, and soon came to the top of the huge vine. He saw the magnificent palace. I saw the guy lying lazily on a cloud floating in midair, surrounded by a group of beautiful women. Du-Lin. Mu-En clenched his fists almost instantly. The one who destroyed Mariajoy, the B********** D who made all celestial dragons homeless, is before his eyes. But he alone is no match for this guy at all, and now he can only follow the plan. He sneered and only glanced at the sun god who was still ignorant of his arrival. You B*************************************** D, your days are numbered. Mu-En sneaked into the island of gods. In fact, it is not appropriate to say that it is sneaking in. After all, no one is aware of his arrival. He carefully inspected all the secret places on the island of gods. He found a lot of incredible things here, besides. For example, Charlotte Katakuri, for example, Kaido of the Beasts. For example, the 0.7 black big ship parked in the dock is almost exactly the same as the Pluton in the legend passed down from generation to generation by the celestial dragons. There is even another sea ship with exactly the same shape and almost built next to Pluton. Moon was shocked, but he didn't dare to take any action at all. If there is any change, it may lead to the failure of the next operation, which is a consequence that Mun absolutely cannot accept. After exploring the sky sanctuary inside and out, Mu-En chose to return. Report the situation here to the 5 elders and Lord I Am, and let them make the decision. But Moon felt that their victory was a matter of course. After all, this guy Du-Lin, even until now, still doesn't know anything. Chapter 347. The Moment of Beginning. Du-Lin did not notice Moon's arrival and departure. Even the great sun god is not omniscient and omnipotent in the true sense. Devil fruit is something of a miracle in this world. Even now Du-Lin's observation hockey can easily cover a sea area, but still can't feel the spy from another space. But just because Du-Lin didn't notice it doesn't mean someone didn't notice it. Just kidding, even the fruit of the door was found by the Illuminati, and then sent to the world government through Stussy. So in this process, it is not difficult to take a little sample from the door fruit, and then let the Vegapunk guy make a replica. Therefore, in fact, there are several fruit ability users on the island of the gods. Although they are all temporary, the time they have the ability is also very limited. But it is enough to do a good job of vigilance in different spaces. First, one person uses the green blood to open the door of the different space, and then several people go in at the same time, and then the person who used the ability just now takes off the green blood, and uses it again to open the door when going out. In this way, it is possible to keep the monitors in the different space for 22 hours. As for why it has already begun to monitor the situation in different spaces. That's all because of word from Stussy that the government has started to gather forces. Marine began to shrink their strength, and even their CPOs were gathering towards the first half of the Grand Line. Because of the preparations, Mun was actually discovered the first time he arrived. After all, he would not use telescopes in different spaces, but the monitors would. But in order to avoid alarming the enemy, several monitors quickly came out of the different space. After all, there is nothing in the different space, no cover, no place to hide, and Mu-En can find them at a glance when he comes over. He didn't even dare to open the air door to observe Mun's actions in the follow-up, because it would be easy to be exposed. After all, if the air door is opened, the two worlds will be connected, and observation hockey will be able to feel the breath, which is true for both parties. The watchers can't believe that the guy sent by the 5 elders to entrust this important task can be so careless. So although Mu-En's whereabouts had been discovered when he arrived, no one knew when he left. In fact, the alert on the island of gods has been fully raised. The two guys who are best at observation hockey under the sun god, Enel and Katakuri, have already tightened their spirits. Both of them, observation hockey, keep scanning the island alternately, making sure that any disturbance will not escape their ears. Even Katakuri made use of his god-given ability to make a few prophecies at this time. Although the prophecy can only be activated against someone he has seen with his own eyes, but this is not difficult for him, he directly activated this ability on Enel. Since the war will definitely happen, then Enel will definitely participate in the war, so predicting Enel's fate has a high probability of predicting the next war. It should be said that it has achieved certain results. Although the predictions were completely wrong several times, some inexplicable things were predicted. But there was only one time Kotaku got a time. Du-Lin raised his eyebrows. Yes, casket. Katakuri nodded solemnly. This is the timing I got from the prophecy. If there are no accidents, everything will come to an end a week later. Then, just look forward to it. Du Lin smiled heavily. It is not only Du Lin who knows that the time for the decisive battle has arrived. Isle of White Clay, Baltigo. Both the Roger pirates and the forces named the Revolutionary Army by Drago have assembled. Marine has assembled. Drago is talking to Jabba and Redhead. The final battle between the world government and the Illuminati is imminent. It seems that fellow IM has already taken full control. Jabba clasped his arms around his chest and nodded lightly. I've been dormant for so long, and now I'm finally going to take action. Then what role will we play in the next war? The Redhead asked. Wait and see what happens, just stick to the original plan. Let them fight to the detriment of both sides. Drago said, however, we are actually fine. The problem is that Marines, who have been recruited by the world government, are not so easy to stay out of it like us, or should they just jump back later? It might not be that bad. Jabba smiled and said, the battlefield is above the sky, unless the world government and premeditation are willing to let the Marines enter their final weapon, otherwise the Marines will not be able to appear on the final stage in time. Both Dorag and the Redhead smiled and nodded. How could the world government allow Marine, who is an outsider, to enter their strongest weapon? Therefore, whether it is Marine or CPO, their role in this war is to clean up the battlefield. After understanding this matter, Dorag and others no longer have any worries. They started to move towards the battlefield, but they didn't plan to join 897 in the war right away. They want to maintain the original strategy, stay still when the war breaks out, knowing that the two sides in the war have exposed their flaws, so that they can take advantage of it. At the same moment, above the very high sky 1,000 kilometers away from the Sky Sanctuary, Mu-En has already returned, and he described to Lord IM in detail what he saw on the Island of the Gods. In particular, it focuses on the eating habits of the Sun God. Among other things, he at least figured out all the kitchens in the temple. Very good. Im's tone was full of approval. You did a good job. Quote. Fighting for you, fighting for celestial dragons, this is my duty. Moon was quite humble about this. But of course his heart was full of excitement that he couldn't hide at all. With Lord Im's approval, his possibility of becoming a Five Elders in the future will be greatly improved. Now that everything has been determined, let's officially start the action. IM gave an order. Moon, do you know what you should do? Of course, Lord IM, please leave it to me. Mu-En lowered his head deeply. Although the next action will be very dangerous, there is no doubt that as long as it is successfully completed, the position of Five Elders is already certain. Chapter 348 Launch. A week goes by very quickly. Today is the day predicted by Katakuri. In fact, Katakuri's prophecy is not even needed. Du Lin got Stussy's secret report 2 days ago. The government asked their CPO and Marine to gather in the waters near Gaia Island within 2 days. That pretty much indicates what's to come. The Island of the Gods looks the same as usual, but in fact, everyone is ready. The knights who serve the gods are already on standby, ready to meet the incoming enemies at any time. Although on the surface they all looked relaxed and at ease, in fact, everyone had lifted their spirits. Especially Katakuri and Enel, their observation hockey kept scanning the Island of Gods, lest they miss any accident. It was under such circumstances that Mu-En came to the Island of Gods. Just like before, the moment he arrived, he had already been discovered by the soldiers guarding in the different space. The moment they found him, the soldiers withdrew from the space again, leaving this vast space for him to perform alone. After Mu-En came to God's Island again, he didn't act in a hurry. Instead, he carefully checked the situation on the island, and decided to take action until he confirmed that nothing happened on the island. As for how he acted, it was actually quite simple. Mu-En came to the kitchen of the temple. It's not hard to find here. After all, he had already stepped on it the last time he came here, and he was already quite familiar with this temple, and he was not unfamiliar at all. At this time, it was almost noon, and the cooks in the kitchen were already preparing lunch. The cooks who prepared the lunch were divided into 2 waves, and the first wave was to prepare big pot meals for other maids in the temple. Another wave, of course, is lunch for the great sun god. Miss Angie is preparing lunch for God today. As the head maid in the temple, the woman closest to God, Angie's authority in the temple is beyond doubt. All the maids obeyed her order, so to speak, cooperating with her in an orderly manner, and prepared a delicious lunch for God. Mu-En was standing next to the maids, watching them prepare lunch for Du Lin. He wasn't surprised at Du Lin's enjoyment. He could only say that it was a little too shabby. Compared with them, the celestial dragons, the life of the sun god could always be described as unpretentious. He was just staring at these maids, looking for an opportunity. The time will come soon. The maids prepared a dish, put it aside to keep warm, and covered it with a lid. Mu-En decided to act at this moment. He stuck his head inside the lid. Because they are in 2 different spaces, they just seem to overlap, but they don't, so he can freely go inside the cover. Then he stretched his hands in, and he already held 2 tubes of medicine in his hands. The dish inside the lid is actually a soup, so it is very appropriate to choose it as a carrier. Where the maids could not see at all, inside the cover, 2 small doors quietly opened in the air, and then 2 hands stretched in. Moon opened the 2 reagents, and then poured the liquid inside into the bowl of soup at the same time. One of these 2 potions is an ability user suppression potion developed by Gai Saw, and the other is a highly poisonous potion. Since everyone can take medicine, wouldn't it be a pity to only take medicine that restrains the abilities of those with abilities? Of course, the blood-sealed throat poison must also be arranged. After quietly using the test tube to stir in the soup bowl, Moon, who hadn't noticed it, took his hand back and closed the air door. The smile on his face can no longer be suppressed. It's that easy, it's that simple. Du Lin's guy has no idea that his death is coming soon. What Mu En didn't know at all was that the moment he opened the 2 air doors, 3 people on the island raised their heads at the same time. Du Lin immediately received a communication request from Katakuri and Enel. After connecting, the two spoke almost in unison. God appeared in the kitchen. God, here it comes. It's in the kitchen. The corners of Du Lin's mouth curled up slightly. It finally came. It really made him feel better. Don't get excited. Keep quiet. Du Lin warned them so. As a result, the entire island of gods is still maintained in a strange and quiet state. Mu En didn't feel that there was anything wrong. He still stayed in the kitchen and stared at the maids, for fear that something might go wrong with the plan. Even after he thought about it, he quietly added medicine to several other dishes. Not that he didn't want a little bit of everything. It is because something is not suitable. Although these 2 medicines are colorless and tasteless, they cannot be tasted even if they are put in a dish, but they are liquids after all. It is very appropriate to add medicine to some dishes with a lot of soup, but if you encounter those dishes with little soup, if you still want to use medicine, it will easily arouse suspicion. In the end, Moon just drugged a few of the dishes. Fortunately, he didn't have to wait too long. The maids quickly prepared all the food, and then they loaded it into the dining car and sent it to the gods. Mu En followed all the way. He watched the maids bring the food to Du Lin, and watched Du Lin start to eat lunch under the service of the maids. At this time, Mu En's fists were already clenched, his eyes were fixed on the dishes on the table that he had drugged, and the sweat could not help but flow down from his forehead. The most critical time has come. Du Lin didn't eat fast, he was teasing and laughing with the beautiful maids while eating. Mu En watched anxiously, wishing to rush out and open his mouth, and pour the food directly into his mouth. But of course, this is impossible. Fortunately, the food made by the maids is very favorite of the sun god Good Zhao. So he finally swallowed those few dishes one by one into his stomach. Good, excellent. Mu En has already started punching in the mind space excitedly. Without waiting too long, Du Lin, who was enjoying the delicious food, suddenly frowned, and leaned limply in the arms of the maid. His mouth was opening and closing in astonishment. Although he couldn't hear the sound, Mu En, who had learned lip language, knew what he was talking about. What's going on? I can't move, my stomach hurts. Great. Moon was laughing almost crazily. It worked, he succeeded. Then it's time to end it all spear. He uses moonwalk to fly high into the sky. Came directly to a place thousands of meters above the huge vine. He opened the air door and reached out, holding a phone bug. Hand, pressing the button on the phone bug. Chapter 349. Thank you. It was a phone bug that didn't look very special, not as bright as the golden phone bug when Marine launched the Buster Call. But such an ordinary phone bug, at this moment, has become the key to truly change the world. When the button on the top of the phone bug was pressed down by that thick finger, far away in the sky, inside the huge weapon, another phone bug surrounded by a group of people suddenly rang. Success. The 5 elders around the phone bug couldn't help cheering, that kid Muen did it. The 5 elders were almost moved to tears at this moment, they had waited too long for this moment. The time to completely win this war has finally come. I knew that kid could do it. The patriarch of the Macca's family, Marcus Moshe Sheng's beard is trembling with excitement, this is his descendant, the pride of their Macca's family. That kid did a great job, he laid the victory stone of this war in one fell swoop. Master I am. The 5 elders collectively turned their heads to look at their king, their god. Aim, and then, prepare to destroy. Im's voice 927 sounded. Yes, it is already very close to the island of the gods, and the straight line distance does not even exceed 100 kilometers. Already completely within range. Now, you don't even need to get close, you can already destroy that group of people directly. The next second, artillery fire roared. There were 13 shots in total, and the incomparably brilliant light cannons bloomed above the sky. Dazzling light swept across the sky at this moment, and in an instant, it was already approaching the island of gods far away in the sky. Located in a different space, Muen, who was floating above, came from seeing the rays of light with his own eyes. Ha 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 ha. Go to hell, Du Lin. Muen was cheering, shouting, and roaring unscrupulously. The guy who forgot to be a god who left a huge shadow on the celestial dragons will be wiped out soon. But at this time, the island of gods suddenly burst into light. Flame flew out of this light, just in time to meet the bombardments that were speeding forward. What? Muen was stunned. What's this? Before he could react, something even more terrifying happened. The rays of light that came from afar stopped immediately at this moment. They condensed into 13 groups of huge rays of light above the sky. What's even more frightening is that in the next second, bright smiling faces naturally appeared on the surfaces of the huge light clusters. God. These lights are shouting, God. Muen couldn't hear what they were cheering, and even the lip reading skills were hard to use against these behemoths. However, he has gradually realized that now, it seems that something unexpected has happened. An even more unexpected change followed, a figure flew up from the island of gods. Flapping the wings on the back, and a ring of flames floating behind the head, the whole person is so handsome that he doesn't look like a human being living in the world. Du Lin. Muen's eyes are tearing apart. How is this guy all right? How can he be all right? How could he be fine? Muen, who was still cheering and shouting just now, felt his brain trembling. What is happening? Is it Du Lin who overcame the potion that Guy Saw researched? Or did he have no problems at all from the start? Mu En felt his scalp tingling, and the pores all over his body shrank, turning into thick goosebumps one after another. He felt the emotion of fear. Could it be that outside world? Du Lin looked at the huge balls of light happily surrounding him. After awakening, God has the power to give life. Charlotte Linlin can bring fire to life and clouds to life. So of course, it is not difficult, CCEJ, to understand that God bestows these responsibilities. Go back to where you came from. Du Lin said, go and destroy the mother who made you. As God, the light spheres responded enthusiastically, and in the next second, their bodies elongated again, and once again turned into beams of light across the sky, but this time, they came from where they came from. Du Lin looked into the distance. Although the eyes can't see it yet, observation hockey can already perceive it. Finally found. Du Lin sighed softly. How long has it been? It's finally time to put an end to it all. Not good. Not good. Lied to by this guy. Mu En finally realized such a thing. This guy is acting the whole time just to lure them into showing up. Now how to do? Mu En was sweating profusely and his whole body was shaking, but he didn't know what to do. It's too late. No matter what he wants to do, it's too late. But what Mu En didn't know was that there was at least one thing he still had time to do. Then, Du Lin gently hooked his hand downward. On the island of the gods, a sun knight suddenly burst into flames, and then his body softened, and he fell to the ground. Seeing this situation, the sun knights around him not only didn't panic, they even shouted frantically. Jack, this guy has entered the kingdom of God. What a lucky guy. God, good God, this partner is dead, but he is still alive, and he will live forever in the kingdom of God. What an enviable thing this is. That flame flew into the sky and sank into Du Lin's fingertips. Well, Du Lin nodded slightly. Yes, that's right. He patted the air in front of him lightly with his hand, and a huge air door moved open directly. The fire seed bestowed by God will endow the recipient with the power of fire, but when the God takes back the fire seed, everything about the recipient will be reproduced by the fire seed. Strength, experience, experience. Even though what the Sun Knight possessed was only a temporary door fruit ability, this ability was still reproduced by Tinder. So the gods have also mastered the power of the door fruit. When Mu En looked at Du Lin, who was stepping into the different space majestically, he didn't react much anymore, and the whole person fell into a state of sluggishness. You already knew. In the end, he could only ask bitterly. I should say thank you. While saying thank you, Du Lin flicked his fingers, and Mu En was directly burned to ashes by the flames. As a thank you, let me see you off in person. Du Lin thought so. Then, it's the last. Chapter 350. I caught you. Du Lin slowly walked out of the air door. He looked down. Everyone was looking up at him. Everyone was waiting for his order. So, the corner of Du Lin's mouth has been raised high, with a bright smile on his face. Let's start. The huge weapon in the distance is rapidly approaching the island of gods. Although he felt that the bombardment was enough to determine the outcome, the cautious IM still thought that he should get closer to ensure that no fish slipped through the net. However, the unexpected happened. The explosion didn't happen. Logically speaking, even such a long distance, it is absolutely impossible not to see the explosion happening. After all, the scale of the explosion that should happen will be unparalleled. But at the edge of the sky, there was silence at this time, and nothing happened. IM, who was full of joy just now, suddenly had an ominous premonition in his heart at this moment. Why do you feel something is wrong? Before IM finished sighing, the sky in the distance suddenly lit up. What? That's it. IM's tone of voice was already full of uncontrollable astonishment. So familiar. These flying rays of light are almost exactly the same as the rays of light that flew out just now. Someone bounced the cannonball back. Protecting mask. M yelled loudly. Boom. 13 beams of light coming from afar slammed into this huge weapon. An earth-shattering explosion swept across the entire sky in an instant. The strong white light caused a second brilliant sun to bloom in midair. Even the real sunlight became dim because of this. The entire weapon was shaking violently. The celestial dragons living in it even had a lot of unexpected falls and bloodshed, and even some unlucky ones directly hit the wall to death. But fortunately, there was nothing serious overall. The huge translucent shield opened, blocking the surging explosion just now. IM stared fixedly at the screen in front of him. The aftermath of the explosion on the screen slowly dissipated, and what appeared in front of his eyes were 13 huge balls of light. It's just that the volume of these light spheres is much smaller than before. Charlotte Linlin. It should be said that although IM has been hiding in Mariajoy all year round, he is still well informed. He knew Charlotte Linlin's ability, so he made a guess at this time. So not only Kaido chose to surrender to Du Lin, but even the woman Charlotte Linlin also surrendered. The ability of Devil Fruit is really unreasonable, even this kind of shelling can be conquered. Such a thought flashed through IM's mind. But immediately something beyond his expectation appeared. A certain man suddenly appeared in the middle of those clusters of light. There was no sign, as if he had moved in an instant, he just appeared there silently. Du Lin. IM's voice was almost gnashing his teeth. Of course, he was not at all unfamiliar with the appearance of the man that appeared on the screen. Even Joey Boy from 800 years ago was not as difficult as this guy. IM saw Du Lin lip synthesizing on the screen. A-hole stuff. IM could no longer maintain his calm appearance, and his hands almost crushed the console in front of him. He could see clearly what Du Lin said. Got you. Master IM. The 5 elders also began to exclaim. Being tricked, no doubt being tricked by this guy. Everything is the conspiracy of this B****************************. He is deliberately seducing them out. Now it's pointless to ask how that guy did all of this. There is no doubt that the real final battle is about to begin now. Fire. M gritted her teeth. Now that this guy has appeared, there is no other choice. Kill him. Outside, Du Lin quietly looked at the behemoth in front of him. Should it be a ship? Or the city? This is a big and exaggerated thing, with a diameter of more than 5 kilometers, almost like an island floating in the sky. It appears to be made of metal, with a black tint. Visible to the naked eye are the cannons mounted around it. Du Lin is very clear about the origin of this thing. It was the ultimate weapon built by the Burka people back then. But in the final battle, it should have been almost broken by Joey Boy. However, in these 800 years, it should have been almost repaired. Ask for flowers. Asterisk 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 asterisk. In addition to having powerful firepower and an amazing defensive shield, this thing also has the ability to link with Devil Fruit. This weapon and Devil Fruit are the highest masterpieces of Burka technology back then, so of course, there will be linkage between the two. To put it simply, this thing can be used as a carrier of Devil Fruit and become a mechanical ability. In the original work, the reason why Vegapunk can make dead things eat Devil Fruit is hard to say that it has nothing to do with it. Of course, purely in terms of power, it must be inferior to shelling. Moreover, not all Devil Fruits can be loaded on it, because the test manipulation obviously doesn't work. But even so, this thing is enough to be called the ultimate weapon in the true sense. 0. But now is not the time to think about these things. Change the battlefield, Du Lin said with a smile. He raised his right hand and snapped his fingers lightly. Sun Sanctuary. What? Inside the final weapon, IM was taken aback for a moment. The scene displayed on the screen was completely different. Flame. Flames are everywhere. What forms the sky above is a fiery flame, and what becomes land below is a golden flame. What's this? The 5 elders were equally dumbfounded. Just switched to a world in the blink of an eye. Is this still Du Lin's ability? What kind of ability is this? But what is amazing is not only this world, but also everything floating behind Du Lin at this time. Those are 2 pitch-black warships. Pluton. IM solemnly said the names of the 2 ships. I thought it was not finished, but the second Pluton is actually finished too. Not even just Pluton. On the decks of those 2 ships, there's a bunch of guys standing out. Mahad, Kasara, Bullet, Moria, Enel, Kaido, Katakuri. Each of them is a powerful man with a prominent reputation on the sea. The Knights of the Gods under the command of the Sun God, all members assemble. Du Lin smiled and opened his arms. Are you ready to be burned to ashes?